Did you have a leisure suit? In the 70s, did you have a leisure suit? 'Cause I did. So, do you have one? Yeah, oh, come on, yeah, wide leg corduroys as well. Yeah, the vests and the silky shirts under there. Come on. That's some old band stuff right there. I'm with you. Yeah, we do. Forget the 80s. Forget the 80s stuff, man. Let's go back to the 70s. That's yeah. How's Glenn doing?
He's in Italy right now. He's doing great.
Where in Italy? Why aren't you there?
All right, good evening, everyone. We will call to order the regular Heath City Council meeting Tuesday, June 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. If you'd all rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to come together and serve you, number one, and also serve our citizens in this wonderful city that we have. And we just have hearts of gratitude where we're just so grateful to be free and to serve you and to be able to lead and lead in a way that just glorifies you. And we pray that we continue to lead with wisdom and understanding, that you would grant that to us so that we would continue to operate and lead in a way that glorifies you so other people may know your great name. Thank you, Father Jesus. In your precious name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Moving into agenda item number 2, public comment. Mr. Alexander.
Mr. Mayor, we have no one here to speak under public comment.
Okay, we have no one here for public comments, so we'll move into agenda item number 3. This is city manager comments and council comments. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. This is my first council meeting. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here, joining the city of Heath. Looking forward to working with all of you, working with our citizens and businesses that we have in our community. Thank you for this tremendous opportunity. It is much appreciated. Thank you. Moving right into some of the other comments. As we all know, the heat of the summer is upon us. We're seeing a lot of water consumption within our community right now. We sent out a video put together by Brian Creed that went out earlier today. Yesterday we hit 5.2 million gallons out of the 6 million allotment we have through the city of Rockwall. That's up from 2.4 million gallons the day prior and 2.8 million gallons for the day prior to that. And so it had a big jump on Monday. And so we are encouraging all residents and businesses within the city of Heath to conserve water and stick to the twice-a-week schedule that we currently have under Stage 1. We want to avoid moving to Stage 2. We want to do everything we can to avoid moving to Stage 2, which would put us at watering restrictions of 1 time per week. And I think if we all can work together on this, I think we all agree, if everybody pulls together as a community as a whole, and stick to the watering schedule, we can keep from going into Stage 2. Which is what we hope to do. We'll be stepping up our communications. We already started doing that some today, letting people know the situation with regards to the water. You may recall if we hit 90% of the 6 million gallons a day that we have, that's when we would move into Stage 2. And we're just under that right now. And if we hit that for 2 days during a 7-day period, that's when we would look to move to that Stage 2. So anything and everything our residents and businesses can do for us to conserve that water, stick to that twice-a-week watering schedule, we would appreciate. We'll continue to get our messaging out to the public. And, of course, all this comes with enforcement as well. And so our code enforcement officers and city staff are working to try to ensure people are complying with the twice-a-week watering schedule. So you'll see people out doing that as well within the community. So That's our hope with regards to water restrictions. On to a more enjoyable note, we're all excited about celebrating our independence on July 4th. Looking forward to the parade that is coming up on Friday, July 4th at 9 a.m. I want to remind everybody that staging and award judging begins at 8 a.m. We do have a temporary parade route this year, starting at the Reserve, at Hawk Drive and Chris Cooney, due to the renovation that's occurring at Town Center Park. We invite everybody to come out and join us for our July 4th celebration. We're excited about that and looking forward to seeing everybody out there for the July 4th. As a reminder, City Hall will be closed on July 4th, but we are looking forward to seeing everybody at the parade. I want to mention one last thing, and that's with regards to the promotions in our Department of Public Safety that recently occurred. You may have seen some of the information on the website with regards to those promotions. We had 9 officers that were promoted to either sergeant or lieutenant during this wonderful ceremony that we had last Friday. I was able to attend that ceremony. It was very exciting to see our officers being promoted, and we congratulate those officers, and we appreciate all that our Department of Public Safety does. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. At this time, the floor is open to council for any public comments. Councilman Myers?
I'd like to make one comment. I don't know if y'all are aware, but we lost a long-time citizen of Heath, Jerry McNash, born and raised here, and actually his father was the first mayor of Heath.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Myers, for that honorable note. Any other council members? Very well. Let me also add, Mr. Alexander, your level of excitement that you have today. You sit before a council that is just as, if not more, excited, and we search high and low for you, and we are very happy to have you here, leading our city as our city manager, CEO of this city. So thank you very much for taking on this task and joining our team. I'd also like to echo major congratulations. Captains and Chief is not here tonight, but you guys have some unbelievably unique talent within this city, within the DPS department, triple certified, and these sergeants and lieutenants are pretty amazing guys. Some I know personally, and I'm very proud of them. So kudos to you guys, because I can tell you the 2 guys sitting in the back did a lot of work with developing those guys and working with them. So what an honor it is to have such a talented team. And then 2, if we can all continue to work to curb the appetite of water, I will like to make a note. There have been a number of meetings internally and externally with advisors on water consumption, looking at our modeling, looking at our zones, looking at the utilization and the unique dynamics that the utilization has within our city. Some might look at it and go, well, you know, hey, look, these are the 2 problematic days. And then you might see next week those are not the 2 problematic days. And that's because we do have people that are shifting their watering schedules and making it difficult for modeling. And so that's why twice a week is really ideal. And if we do not curb that appetite as a city, we will unfortunately have to go into secondary stages. We are excited this year, though. We do have, thanks to Danny and Mr. Creed and all the hard work by staff, we have a new SCADA system. So last summer, as you may recall, we went into a boil water notice due to a failed system. That was a pretty deprecated system, and we have now upgraded that. So we're very excited to see a new system in play, but we do still have a consumption concern. So, all right, at this time, we'll move into our consent agenda. Agenda item number 4.A, action regarding the minutes of the June 10th, 2025 regular meeting. 5.B, action regarding a contract for professional services with Team Consultants not to exceed $60,356 for geotechnical and material testing to support the construction of the Public Works facility project, as well as 4.C. This is action regarding a contract for professional services with Team Consultants not to exceed $20,508.70 for geotechnical testing to conduct a pavement investigation for rehabilitation of Terry Lane. For those of you that don't recall, we've been talking about Terry Lane for some time. We've got some allocated funds from the county, and this is us in collaboration with the county and talking through how we might be able to look at different options for how we pave that road. So this is a great opportunity for that geotechnical testing. 4.d, this is action regarding a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to provide financial support to law enforcement task forces and agencies for economic motor vehicle theft, including catalytic converter theft. And ultimately, that is a grant for funding to enhance our video capabilities. So at this time, that concludes the consent agenda. I believe all the councils had time to review the consent agenda, so the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we accept consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to accept by Councilman Omby. We have a second.
I second.
We have a second by Councilman Horn. The motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Moving into agenda item number 5, these are items for individual consideration. 5.a, we are going to conduct a public hearing, discussion and action regarding an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Heath, Texas, adopting the City of Heath 2025 Comprehensive Plan. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, members of the City Council. And so we've had several meetings in the past with Planning and Zoning Commission, City Council. We had a public hearing on June 10th as well. First public hearing. This is obviously the second public hearing. The purpose of that is to make sure that we have citizen engagement with this. And with that being said, I do have on your desk some additional, right before you, some additional comments that were submitted through our form online application. Did receive 6 more over the weekend. I received those this afternoon, late this afternoon. And so that brings a total of 10 forms where we have citizens that have some comments for you to be able to take a look at. We also had 677 views online for the comprehensive plan as well with that. And so with that being said, as you know, this began in 2023 of June. This was a part of not only staff, but the comprehensive plan steering committee was also associated with this. And so we took guidance from the steering committee in bringing forward the plan that you have in front of you this evening. And with that, the staff posted the plan, like I said, on the city's website for viewing. This gives you the update, once again, what I just went through for the 677 views and 10 online comments. And Chapter 213 of the Texas Local Government Code says that the governing body of the municipality may adopt a comprehensive plan for long-range development of the municipality. And so that's what this is for. This is to provide a vision for the community. It provides a plan. It provides a guide in moving forward with this. And when we take a look at this, we take a look at the comprehensive plan. What is the long range? It's a long range planning tool, and it guides the growth. It guides development. And it's used by staff. It's used by decision makers such as yourselves. And also developers. When we had developers call in, we're able to sit down with them and go through the comp plan and let them know what it is that this city is looking for when they come in to develop. The comprehensive plan, it's not zoning. It doesn't establish zoning regulations. It doesn't establish any zoning boundaries. This is a policy document. And part of that is to not only have a comprehensive plan in place, but also to have your zoning codes and your subdivision ordinances to come back behind after this is adopted, to be able to make sure that we're meeting all the strategic policy goals and objectives of this particular plan. And the primary objectives, of course, of the comprehensive plan are to provide efficient delivery of public services. It's coordination of public and private investment as well. We take a look at if there are any potential conflicts between land uses. So you see that during the zoning process where that becomes a discussion. Management of the growth in an orderly manner, and then cost-effective public investments. And so we'll see that as well. And this also is a rational and reasonable basis for making decisions about the community, and that starts here with this body. So, you know, once again, this started 2 years ago with the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee and staff, and once again, it was a framework from the 2018 comp plan, and the direction from council at that point was to maintain the vision, the goals, and the objectives and strategies, and also bring forward these recommendations. So with that being said, the Comprehensive Planning Steering Committee went through this, and they went through and they rewrote every word in this document to be what it is today, to simplify this, to make sure that we maintain the vision and goals and all these objectives. And so that's what you'll see here as we take this forward, and to also, part of that was to review the vision statement. There was a minor change to that. The vision statement obviously tells you what the city's going to look like in the future. You know, this is what your built environment is based on. And so when you read this, this is what captures what I call the big picture. So when you read this, a premier outdoor lifestyle community of spacious, upscale neighborhoods, open spaces, parks and trails, cultural amenities, an exemplary educational system, a distinctive economic development to provide the highest level of public services, a place to call home for a lifetime. And we also have the branding element that I put down here, a premier outdoor lifestyle community. So this is what the comprehensive plan is designed to do. It's to provide this for our future, and that's what we're looking to do. Being that this was brought forward to you on a couple of other occasions, staff has gone through the goals and objectives in taking a look at the neighborhood livability and also the land use strategies and the 13 goals and so forth that are outlined in here. One of the important ones that I think anyway is the town center strategy. The town center overlay district, from a planning standpoint and from the city standpoint, that's going to be our heart of the city. And so it's important that we use the comprehensive plan in guiding not only the design guidelines of the town center overlay district, but also to be able to implement what we have in here to make that what we want and how that needs to look for the future as well. And some of that would be through the uniqueness of design. And so those are things that we're looking at. From a land use strategy, once again, we're about low density by maintaining the no more than one dwelling unit per developable acre. So low density, low intensity, that being commercial. We have about less than 5% commercial here. But it's important that we take a look at that commercial, use this plan to make sure that the commercial that does come in, that it's going to be effective in what is there from the built environment standpoint. Livability, you know, we're talking about drainage. That's going to be your floodplains, how we use that, how we use open space as well in design. Your architectural distinctiveness is part of this as well. And so those are things that staff takes a look at as well when we bring that forward to you to make those decisions. Your implementation strategy, this is probably the more important element of this. Once we take a look at all the goals, the strategies, and the recommendations, then we have to take a look at this. And so the summary provides a statement for plan amendments that may be made after a thorough analysis of immediate needs, as well as consideration of long-term effects of the proposed amendments. So we'd have to consider what does that look like from a long-term perspective. Public and private, public education and public involvement rather, in shaping our community through involvement and best practices. And of course, immediate priorities for amending regulatory ordinances and other ordinances that require revisions and or to create ordinances that enhance the city's image and livability standards for high quality of life and uniqueness. And that's the thing that I touched on earlier, is to make sure that what we bring forward, when we come forward again, the next process would be to bring forward ordinances that will bring this plan, I want to call it bring this plan to life, you know. So from a future land use plan perspective, this is used as a guide. You know, when we take a look at zoning and development standards, we use this as a guide, and in working with developers to make sure they understand exactly what it is, the characteristics, and how we want the property to look. The things that were changed that should be pointed out here from the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee is the last plan that we had, most of the area here was this beige color, and that was rural estates. That rural estate designation was 1 acre or more, including the 3 acre SFE. What the steering committee brought forward was to take a look at this and make rural estates something that actually looks like rural, and that would be 3 acre or better. So SFE 3.0 now is your designated area that you see here. And how that came about was to take a look at those areas to see how was that selected? What does the properties that are around there look like? Does it meet SF 3.0? Most of those areas do have larger lot developments, so it just made sense to make these larger lot developments up in this area here and try to maintain that. The other factor that was brought in was these lines here that you see. These are 250-foot boundaries that are along Ridge Road, Heathland Crossing here. You've got 549 and then 550. The idea behind that is these are major corridors where you enter into the city, and when you take a look at that, what that represents is a rural estate, a rural house sitting there, so it looks rural when you're entering the city from those corridors, and trying to maintain that rural characteristic that we have here. And that's what we're trying to do there. The yellow now with the 1 acre, those are going to be considered medium density, and anything else that you see in here, the orange and the brown areas, those are obsolete districts. Those are SF15, SF22. Obsolete just meaning that the zoning is no longer available there. If they have a property that exists, that zoning is for those properties that are currently existing there now. High density obviously is going to be most of the area down here on the south end. We do have some that's located along this area as well too. Now from the standpoint of the comprehensive plan, when we take a look at this, the adoption of the plan it's a critical step in shaping the future of the city. It provides a roadmap for sustainable growth and development, and ensuring that the community remains vibrant and resilient as a premier outdoor lifestyle community. With that, once again, this is a public hearing. This is the second public hearing. Staff at this point is available for any questions that you may have, and that concludes my presentation.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. At this time, council, do you have any questions or comments for staff?
Mr. Mayor.
You'll recognize Mr. Dodson.
David, thanks very much for serving this up. There was a tremendous amount of work that went into kind of codifying and updating this plan, and this plan is more of an update. We've also had, not a lot, but we've had some very good citizen input here, over the last couple of readings of this. And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on how do we address these citizen comments, and how do we get back with these citizens so that we can encourage more in the future to get involved with this. That's my first question.
Right, yes, sir. Yeah, and citizen engagement, that's always a primary issue for us.
Yeah.
And anything that we have, anything from a public hearing standpoint, we want citizens to come out because this is their city, and we want them to be able to participate in that. A lot of the questions that I saw in here related to some legal issues, legal matters, things like that, and then also some zoning changes. And so what I would say to that is I would encourage them to come in, obviously, to be able to do that. But also at the same time, when we have our zoning and subdivision ordinances amended to bring this plan forward and bring it to life, I think they'll see noticeable differences from that. But we certainly encourage citizens to come forward and speak their minds, and that way we can assist them with some of that.
So two of the comments that I saw that really caught my attention, one was a request, and this is kind of in the future, for a citizen kind of engagement group, a group that, or individuals that would be a part of a committee that would continually canvass residents and citizens of our community here in Heath to, collect feedback to then feed into, if it's a steering committee that updates this again, kind of at the next turn, or if it's done some other way. I thought that was an interesting and a reasonable recommendation, and not for comment, I just found it interesting. The second piece that I saw in here, there were several comments, both in the first group of feedback that we had and this second group that was put on our tables today, with regards to kind of updating some of our plans, and in particular, our roadway and transportation plan, right? And the issues that we're facing along 740 and 550, which, are not only not developed, but not slated for development, and, by the way, TxDOT roads as well. So I would encourage us to continue to look for those things, and also, as I talked to Mr. Alexander this last week, continue to look at how we might action updating our ordinances, as we took a lot of time here at this 10,000 foot level on this comprehensive plan, and fought to go subterranean because this is kind of a 10,000 foot guide. Those ordinances are where we can get granular, and where things will matter most to future development, and for us being able to keep Heath the way that we all want it to be.
I agree, yes, sir.
So those are my last comments. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments for staff, council?
I have a quick comment, and that is the objective goal number 1 is for unique development. Obviously, uniqueness is very subjective, right? And so it's interesting that our objective goal is for something very subjective to be accomplished. But looking over the comprehensive plan, it does look like they have some ideas that address what I hope would create a unique city. And I did get some feedback from a constituent that she just mentioned that we are kind of like that teenager trying to figure out who we're going to be when we grow up as a city, and we just hope we don't misstep here, and that this city really does not miss an opportunity to have an iconic sense of character as we have development moving forward.
I agree with that, yes. And to comment on that, I think one thing I mentioned before is like the Town Center Overlay District. It's new, it came in with the 2018 comp plan, and there is a plan there to be able to take a look at that, and what is that gonna look like for the heart of the city? And so as we have development come in, those are things that we need to sit back and take a look at through the Town Center Overlay District standards and guidelines to make sure that what we bring in that hits the ground there first or second or third, that's gonna be representative of what that district could look like. So I think it's important that we take every opportunity to make sure that that is exactly what the city would like to see.
Great. Any other council comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. I know this has been a multi-hand, multi-administration approach. This project started under Mayor Elam, and there were a number of volunteers that sat on this committee, so thanks to those individuals. Some of them even sit on the dais. I would point out the one recommendation that I do have is to add the word safety into the vision statement, a premier outdoor lifestyle community of spacious upscale neighborhoods, open spaces, parks and trails, cultural amenities, an exemplary educational system, and distinctive economic development to provide the highest level of public services and safety. A place to call home for a lifetime. To Councilman Thorogood on unique, I do believe that the document does get fairly granular. This is meant to be a macro approach, but there are elements of change that were identified. One being that we do call out custom residences. That was one call out. Another call out for the commercial or retail side is while the design book was created to guide development in the Town Center Overlay District, its guidelines should be implemented in all retail development in the city. So ultimately looking for some continuity in the way that we follow really something that came from citizen feedback. There was a multitude of citizens that were involved in in that process as they brought in Kimberly Horn to create that design book. And again, going back to this original state, this was, for those of you that might have partook or not, I think in 2018, we filled up the entire theater hall for the high school. And took feedback live and in real time, and then they had subcommittees. And so this is a refinement and a tightening up of that document. And like I said, this was over 2 years and looking for unique things. I mean, there are things listed in here that were not there, the equestrian, lifestyle promotion, trails, all the way down into the recommendations of working and encouraging HOAs to try to refine some of their ordinances as far as ADUs. Obviously, we know at the state legislature that they're giving more autonomy to the HOAs than they are the cities. And so some of these have much action to be taken, but in totality, I think it's a really a dynamic change as far as tightening up what I already thought was a really good document, and there's more to come and more years of refinement as we should be looking at this every 3 to 5 years, but great job. Very good. Any other council discussion on this? Very well. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. At this time, we will open a public hearing at 7 p.m. Do we have any residents that would like to speak for or against your comprehensive plan? Going once, going twice? I can become an auctioneer. All right. The public hearing is closed at 7 p.m. If there's any further discussion from the council, the floor is open. Very well. The chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the comprehensive plan dated 2025.
Very well. And are you okay with adding safety to that vision statement?
Very good. Let me restate my motion. Motion to approve the comprehensive plan dated 2025 with the amendment in the vision statement inclusive of the word safety.
Very well. We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Dodson. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilman Thorogood beat you.
I'll third it.
She's ready. All right, very good. So the motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. And thank you to all of the people that worked really, really hard on this document. Thank you to the citizens for all of their feedback as well. Moving into agenda item 5.b, conduct a public hearing and act on case number FV 202503, granting a resolution for certain variances to the section 157.02, fences in residential areas of the Heath Code of Ordinances, and more specifically to allow for a front yard fence to be located at 637 Moraine Way, City of Heath, Rockwell County, Texas. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. And this property is located at 637 Moraine Way. You can see Moraine Way here is a cul-de-sac for where the property is located. We did send out notice. We did 22 notices that did go out. And we have received 2 notices, one that received after the packet had gone out. So I have that in front of you this evening. Both of those are in favor of the applicant's request. And essentially what the applicant is looking to do, this is an aerial image of the property. You have 5 properties that are located here within this cul-de-sac. And of course, like Ray Hubbard here, this is the property that we're referencing. And if you can see, there is a fountain, a large, beautiful water fountain that sits right here. And that is about 12 feet from the street right-of-way. And this is give you a better depiction of what they are looking at, as well as a visual of what that fountain looks like as well, too. The plan here shows the front yard fence to be located it's probably about a foot away from the, probably 2 feet maybe, from the fountain. The road right-of-way is about right here as well. They have 4 columns that they are including with this. And what they want to do is those columns, they do stand at 7 feet, 1 7 feet, and I'm sorry, 2 at 7 feet and 2 at 6.5 feet. Those are over what the code requires, so that is something that they are looking to have approved. They want this to look similar to what their neighbor has in the form of, I believe that it looks like either limestone or looters or some type of looter stone, and I'll get that picture there to you in just a moment. They're going to have a sliding gate here. This is part of the request as well. It's 8.5 feet. It's an eyebrow, looks like an eyebrow as far as a fence, and it's a decorative wrought iron fence. The remainder of the fence here will be at 5 feet. The front yard fence, is a maximum height that's 4 feet, so that's a variance there as well. And I'm pointing to the small map, and I got the big map right here, so we should be looking at the larger map. That's why I did that. This is the front gate design, and this is what this will look like. These are not the columns. This is just an example of what this gate will look like. This will have stone columns here. The variance for that not only is in the height, but also that the columns will be, where the gate is located, 30 inch by 50 inch. And then the other 2 columns will be at the property lines are 30 by 30. And so those exceed the minimum requirements, the maximum requirements that we have. This is the next door neighbor. This is what they are trying to achieve, is the look of this stone. They want to be consistent in the neighborhood. That way it doesn't stand out. And so they want to be consistent with that because they're tying in also right over here at their property line with the fence that's along here. So there's already a wrought iron fence that runs back this way. They'll include the wrought iron on the other side of the property. In the neighborhood, there are a couple of others that existed prior to the adoption of this ordinance, and they have 6 foot, you can see here, 6 foot tall fences and 10 foot tall columns. And so because of the circular drive as well, be the cul-de-sac, that's going to create a variable distance for your setback. So that'd be part of the request here. And what this is, the request is for the variance rather, I'm sorry, maximum height of 5 foot tall ornamental wrought iron fence for the front yard, a 5 foot tall front yard fence to be located within the variable distance from the property line, i.e. the cul-de-sac, and then an 8.5 foot tall gate the gate crossing rather be located within the variable distance from the property line, and that's supposed to be 15 foot setback, and within the maximum width of the columns being 30 by 30 and 30 by 50 as opposed to 24 inch rather, and then also a maximum height of 8.5 foot tall ornamental wrought iron gate, and then also masonry columns not to exceed a maximum height of 7 feet. So we have a total of 6 variances associated with this request. And with that being said, the council may allow the variance if it determines that the enforcement of the provision of this is in the best interest of is not in the best interest of the public, that it's not a waste of or efficient use of land, that it creates an undue hardship to the applicant, and it does not serve the intended purpose. Sorry about that. Staff does forward this over to you for the recommendation. This is a discretionary decision for the city council. This is a public hearing once again, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Before I open the floor, council, I would point out number 3 in your packet on page 122 of this item. I can tell you this has been brought up before. I know that we're probably going to ask some fairly normal questions of, setting precedent and how often have we approved something similar, but I would definitely say that we need to call out a security concern for that resident. Very well. All right, at this time, council, do you have any questions for staff?
I do.
Very good. Councilman Dodson, you're recognized.
David, what is our setback ordinance state? What are we obligated by per our ordinance?
The setback for the front yard, for a front yard fence, is 5 feet from a sidewalk or a trail. There
Right.
is no sidewalk or trail here, so the assumption is 5 feet at where the street right-of-way would be, so
Right.
behind that, yes.
Right, right.
There's no sidewalk on this? I thought that's what you were showing on the plat.
Let me go back to the image. This, maybe the aerial will show that. This is the cul-de-sac that's here. Lisa and I went out there and
So it's
visited the
just
property. I
curb
did not see
curb
a
and gutter, no
sidewalk in there.
sidewalk?
Right.
Okay. And you said that the others that are in the vicinity of this property were prior to this ordinance?
I believe so, yes, that, I did not find anything on those.
That was prior to the council becoming the council of fences? Those of you that have come to these meetings, there was a day that I thought this is all we meet about was fences. Very well. Councilman Dodson, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, we've had two cases that have come before our group recently. One is the Beeman property on 549, and the other one was the Watts property and, request as well. With the Beeman property, given the grand nature of and the scale of that fence for that property and estate, where did we land with regards to gate size and fence size?
7-foot gate is
Yeah.
the max height,
Right.
that's in the ordinance. And fence height on the front yard is 4 feet, and they're requesting 5 feet, in this case. And it'll be 5 feet, as well down the side.
Right.
Yeah, I think we granted the variance in totality
Yeah.
except for the, being able to see through it.
Yeah, the gate itself, right, and then, because it met the requirements
Was it
from-
transparency?
Yeah, the transparency requirement for the linear footage and what have you, sort of met all of that.
Okay.
Right, yes, sir.
Any further questions, Councilman Dodson?
No other questions at this time.
Very well. Council, any other questions for staff?
Mr. Mayor, I got one question.
Councilman Myers?
Do we know what the approximate setback is gonna be from the curb to the gate?
I did not measure that. At the time they submit building permits, should this be approved, we'll have those measurements. But it appears to be about 7.5, 10 feet, maybe from the curb.
So if they have a delivery driver, they're not going to be stuck in the road. Very good. Councilman Thorogood?
Can I just confirm that this gate that they want to put in is very similar to the other gates within this very cul-de-sac?
The gate is dissimilar. It is not, I mean, it's a wrought iron fence, has the eyebrow look,
But as far as the height and the
yes,
variances
as far
they're
as the height, it's
requesting?
probably very similar to that, yes, I would
That's-
say that.
So, but the others were put in there prior to this ordinance being in effect, and that's why they did not need a variance?
That's my
For the same
understanding,
thing
yes,
that
ma'am.
this
Yes, ma'am.
neighbor wants?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any other questions? Very well. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. All right, at this time, we will open the floor for a public hearing at 7:12. Are there any residents that would like to speak for or against? None at this time. At 7:12, we will close our public hearing, and the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Councilman Mormon has made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilman Horn. The motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Moving into 5.c, discussion and action regarding case number RP 202505 for a request from Corey and Brooke Hoger for the approval of a replat of lots 1 and 2, Bromley Estates, being 1.379 acres of land and creating lots 1R and 2R, Autumn Trail Estates, zoned SF 43, single-family residential district, land uses, City of Heath, Rockwall County, Texas, and located on the south side of the terminus of Autumn Trail. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is a replat request. This was known as the Bromley Estates. It was final platted back in February of 2022. And at that time, when it was platted, there was a fire and utility easement that had been included on the lot. And this is the Bromley addition, where it shows a drive here, rather, with hammerhead for a turnaround for a fire apparatus. And this is, from the applicant and fire, this is not required at this point. And so the plat also has a utility easement that is located within here as well. They did dedicate a right-of-way here for about 73 feet for this property, and so that obviously will remain. It's just a matter of abandoning this easement here since it's not required, and this is the configuration of what they are planning on doing. They reconfigured the lot to have access here for Lot 1R, and that's going to be in the upper portion of Autumn Trail. The other property, too, will still access off of Autumn Trail, come in this direction here. This will just abandon the fire and utility easement for this plat, and the applicant also has trees that are located here. So they submitted a treescape plan, and the 3 trees are a 10-inch live oak, 10-inch oak, and a 6-inch cedar. So that comes to 26 inches. And according to our code, you can have a tree replacement here as a fee in lieu of, or you can replace the inches. And so there's 2 methods that you can that you can do here. And what the applicant is requesting is the voluntary waiver in this case, to where you can take the 40% of the total of the tree mitigation. And I've got the calculation here for you. There's 26 inches, and so if you take 40% of the 26 inches, that'll leave 10.4 inches to be mitigated for at $160 per inch. And so that'd be a total of $1,664 that would be submitted into the tree fund. So that's what the applicant is requesting. Obviously, that requires approval from the city council in order for them for you to accept the waiver on this. So that's part of the replat process with this. This did go to city council. To Planning and Zoning Commission, and the Planning and Zoning Commission did review this on June the 3rd, and they are forwarding a recommendation of approval. Staff is also forwarding recommendation of approval with the following conditions of approval: that the payment of $1,664 be paid into the tree fund for the removal of the 26 caliper inches from the property, and that the payment of the tree preservation fund shall be due at the time of final plat, whenever they do record the plat, prior to the release of permits for this subdivision. With that, I'm available for any questions that you may have.
All right, very good. Before we open the floor to questions for staff, the one thing that I would say is this is a nice replat design. As I've seen other people with shared easements, access easements, we've seen all kinds of issues with that. So it's probably a very wise future state move after the residents may not live on this property. So that's very good. I would also like to say that typically I look at the tree ordinance and I say, well, we would like to see trees. In this circumstance, it's a little bit different. If you were to require them to plant trees, you then necessarily don't dictate to where they put the trees, and you could be blocking someone's beautiful lake view. So that would be a little bit of a tricky point. So I do actually think that in lieu of is probably a more ideal circumstance. At this time, council, the floor is open if you have any questions for staff.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Dotson?
I also like the in lieu of, and again, it's a part of our ordinance, so it's really kind of the dealer's choice, with regards to that. But my question, I guess, is how and why did the fire marshal determine and rule that the area did not need to be wide enough for the turnaround or the ingress of a large fire vehicle into that area?
Right, yeah, great question, and essentially, from my understanding, is that the the previous fire marshal required this. Our current fire marshal, because this is a private drive, does not require a fire lane on this. And so that's the purpose of the applicant coming in and to request to abandon this. Otherwise, they would have had to put in the concrete that would need to meet the fire lane. And so,
I'm no fire marshal, but I can jump in here, only because we've had so many different circumstances. When you have two shared properties, then you know that at any point you're gonna have to take that apparatus to possibly service one home over the other.
Right.
When you have a singular entrance, then they would come into that singular entrance. So as far as when they come onto the property, how are they getting out? That's a different story to the fire marshal. Brandon's not here tonight, but that's what we've seen on these shared drives. That's one thing that they've pushed hard on making sure that they have that
Right.
that hammerhead access.
Right. Well, I just want to make sure that from a public safety standpoint, that our fire teams can get into and out of that area.
correct, yes. And one thing they do look at, they do take a look at the measurement, as long as it's not more than 600 feet.
Right.
For hose lay, then they can need to see if there's a fire hydrant that's gonna be required, or as long as they can make sure they can meet that. And the 73 feet that you have from the right-of-way helps with meeting that distance requirement.
So our fire marshal, Brandon, has weighed in on this.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And his determination is that we don't need any additional width to move our apparatus into this area.
Yes, our code does not require that, correct.
Gotcha.
And my
Okay.
recollection is that the P and Z, we did have DPS staff that was there that answered a very similar question.
Right.
To the P and Z as well, so.
Okay, thanks, Steve, very much. All right, David, thanks.
And the ingress egress matches everything that's needed for that second property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Councilman Dodson. Any other questions for staff, council?
Got one question, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Myers?
You said the entrance, I'm looking at it here, lot 2. We'll go back one more. So they're splitting this, the entrance to lot 1 would be right there, yes, right there then.
Correct.
So then they would basically make the entrance to lot 2 down somewhere along in that area there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Very good. Any other
Yes.
questions for staff? None? Very good. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank
All right, at this time, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve
Motion to approve by
case
Councilman
number
Dodson.
RP 2025-05.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Myers is the second. The motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Moving into 5.d, discussion and action regarding a contract for professional services with AGCM, not to exceed $245,272. AGCM will act as the owner's representative throughout the design and construction of DPS Station number 30 and DPS Station 31, and any matters related thereto. Mr. Morgan.
Good
Or I
evening.
should say, the Honorable Captain Morgan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight for consideration of the professional service agreement with AGCM to act as the owner representative for the design build contract with Grossman Design. Appointing an owner representative is a requirement for all design build contracts on public properties. AGCM is intended to represent the best interests of the city throughout the project. If you recall, the contract with Grossman Design is contingent upon selecting an owner representative. The contract has been reviewed by legal and Chief Siri has checked references. With that, we have members of AGCM here to present and to answer any questions you have.
Very good. All right. Thank you. Council, any questions for Captain Morgan? We'll have a AGCM. You would take the lectern, state your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name's Chris Carpentier. I am the Business Development Manager with AGCM for the North Texas region. And I've brought my team with me this evening, the actual team that would be working your project. These are the actual professional individuals that will be out for you. Of course, we're a professional project management firm. Our job, obviously, is to partner with the city to make sure that we put forth the product that you expect, especially for your public safety individuals. We already talked about that earlier. I heard the comment, you have some really talented individuals here. We want to make sure they get the facilities they deserve and the public gets the facilities they deserve. So we're like your extension. We're the oversight for the city, and that's what we do. I'm going to pass it on to my team. They're going to introduce themselves so you kind of know what they do, and at the end, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Ethel?
Hi, good evening, and congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. I am one of the project managers that you will be seeing in here if we get selected. I currently working with the city of Josephine with their fire station. It's a public safety building, so there's a fire and police. I've worked with Chief Danny Anthony as well in the city of Lavon. I have a great relationship with Chief Simmons. It's another fire chief that can speak for work. And what you can expect from me is to come and visit our site, check on the pay applications. You're going to get pay applications that are, a few $1,000,000. So you want to make sure that's what's going on site, backup, schedule, making sure that I'm communicating with the city and the fire department what's going on, keeping track of everything that is critical on our project. And I'll be the liaison, but not just that. I will try to make everything on my hands to check that we're complying with everything, that we're kind of like saving money and doing all we can to just get the project in the best shape.
Very good.
Good evening, I'm Bob Myers. I'll be working on this project as a registered architect, representing you to make verification that we comply with the Government Code 2269. That's one of my primary responsibilities on this project. I'll be involved through the design and construction and assist through that process.
Very good.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Alexander, congratulations. I will be amiss if I didn't mention what a distinct honor it is for the public safety to have triple certified. I mean, it is commendable, so congratulations. My name is Dinakar Thangavil. I'm the Director of Operations. My primary responsibility is to provide leadership and guidance to my team and be your trusted partner and advisor. I've been with the company about 3 years. Prior to AGCM, I was on the general contracting side for about 30 years. So thank you for the opportunity and your precious time.
Very good. Thank you. Council, at this time, the floor is open if you have any questions.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Dodson?
On 5B in the packet that we have here, it talks about a lot of your responsibilities for this project, right? And as I think you mentioned, it's really about scope, schedule, and resources and being able to adhere to that for the duration of this project as well. One of the things I think that we've been lacking, that particularly given the spend that's going to be associated with this project, is we need some frequency with regards to updates on how we're doing against scope, schedule, and resources, so that we and the citizens who have approved this can get a good feel and an understanding for where we're at, not only in terms of the spend, but also the timing that it takes to put this together. Can one of you speak to sort of how you have done that in other areas where you all have worked?
Yeah, I can take that. So every time Bob or Ethel visits your job site, they will do what is called an observation report.
Right.
They will record the weather, temperature, who's there, the wind conditions, and what activities are going on, and they'll take pictures, they'll make notes, and that will be shared with the council or with the chief or Mr. Alexander, whoever you choose. And then on a monthly basis, they will be prepared what is called an executive summary. That'll give you pretty much a status of how well the project is doing. There's a health indicator. It's simple to understand. It's red, green, yellow, based on cost, schedule, and quality.
Right.
And then we will go through, here's the total cost of the project, here's how much have been approved so far, here's the progress. So we'll be very transparent. You will see all of those on a monthly basis, and then along with the observation reports on every time they come on site. As far as frequency of the meetings, at a minimum, we should have a monthly meeting, what's called an OAC meeting, owner, architect, contractor.
Right.
But our preference would be is to have that meeting at the very early stages, at least every other week, to make sure we have the proper progress, we have the momentum to carry forward, and everything is in order. And then we can maybe change it to once a month, once we have the warm and fuzzy feeling.
Well, it allows you to get into a battle rhythm for you and the subcontractors, right?
Yes, sir.
And, if you were less frequent up front, then you end up with a very elongated schedule, to say the least.
Yes, at a minimum, we'll be on site, at minimum, at least once a month, once a
Right,
week, once a
right.
week. We'll be there, but the meetings will be, every other week. We'll have lots of opportunities. Bob and Ethel will have lots of opportunities to interact with Grossman Design or the subcontractors. And then I will accompany them at least once a month.
Right. Great. So Steve and Mr. Mayor, we've had some requests in the past to have, at least a once-a-month update. And this clearly falls within that, given the size of this capital expenditure for this, if not both DPS facilities.
I believe Mr. Alexander will ensure that happens.
Great.
Yes, Mayor, council members, we will definitely provide a monthly report to council on this project.
Terrific.
Make sure that you guys are kept up to date. And in my mind, I also think we ought to have a webpage dedicated to the progress we're making on these
Right.
two buildings as we go
Right.
along, just to keep you in the loop. We will definitely be doing that.
So, in the packet under background, it says that, there was a neighboring city where you all were and have worked before.
Yes, sir.
Is that Josephine, or is that another city?
It's McClendon, Chisholm,
Okay,
and then City of Josephine and Lavon.
Lavon.
gotcha.
And please feel free to call on any of them.
I
Right.
have a relationship with both of them. I'll make that phone call.
Yes, sir, please do.
All right.
Your
I
actual
already have.
designer,
You guys are highly recommended.
Thank you.
the actual Grossman design, we have worked with before, so we have a relationship, a good working relationship.
Very good, sir.
Yeah.
I look at this and I see, your whole role is no change orders. Is that page 2?
Well,
Yeah.
we're not Grossman Design, but our intent
well,
would be
you're
is
gonna
to,
double check and
absolutely,
make sure.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No,
Anytime any change request comes, our first priority would be is to validate the entitlement of that change order.
Oh, check the overrun.
Yes, sir.
So question to legal, has this been vetted and approved by legal?
Yes, thoroughly, yeah.
Okay, and your thoughts on mutual indemnity as opposed to singular indemnity?
So we can talk about that in executive session if you would like.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine, as long as we have a conversation about that, that's probably good. Okay, I have no other questions.
There is one slight change with a name change on the contract itself. I did talk to legal prior to the session starting, so
Okay.
just a name change.
As far as the contact person, is that?
Yes,
who you're-
yes.
Right,
Yes.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's page 1, we're gonna change it to Deniker's name
Yes.
instead of Derek Bird.
Okay.
We're okay if you guys help us get this done faster too, for less money.
We'll try every.
Well, you're now on the record for that,
We'll-
so, okay.
I didn't finish my sentence yet. We will do everything in our powers to make sure we meets the design intent, within budget and on time.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Well, our DPS needs a world-class facility. And you mentioned the triple certification and how tough it is to get those types of individuals to come to an area and to put in that work and go through all the certs and everything else. And they need, a great physical structure, not only for, retention perspectives, but recruitment and expansion as we continue to grow in a, very prominent community.
Absolutely, well-deserved facility.
Yeah.
Learned, yes, sir.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council, any other questions? All right, very well, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor,
for
thank you,
being here.
council.
Thank you for having us present.
Absolutely. All right, council, any further discussion?
So Councilman Dodson, just to answer your question, I am comfortable with the way that indemnification clause is worded.
Okay, very good.
I didn't want to speak for you, but.
No, as long as our legal representative is comfortable with that, then who am I?
All right, very well. At this time, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the professional services contract with AGCM for the owner's representative services related to the design builds for the projects station number 30 and 31.
Very well, for the amount of $245,272. Very well. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second by Councilman Omby. You will beat Councilman Thorogood. The motion moves. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you. I look forward to working with you. Okay, moving into agenda item 5.e, discussion and action regarding a professional services agreement not to exceed $155,150 with Schaumburg and Polk for design services, construction, administration, and project representation for the Meadowview Bridge project. Mr. Shook.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Council, bring to you tonight, this is an amendment to the contract that you approved in April of this year. The original contract was for all services to be included, but that night, to keep the project moving, we only approved the engineering, design, and surveying of the project, and the administrative contract or amendment to be brought back at a later date for consideration. Just for your knowledge, the plans have been designed. We're in plan review right now. We have not made our final comments back to Schaumburg and Pope. They'll be probably within the next week. At this time, I would like y'all to consider going into the administrative contract so we can proceed with the bidding. There's going to be some easements that have to be drawn, designed. Staff will have to go to 2 property owners downstream for easements. They will be, Schaumburg Pope will be doing the advertising, bid opening, and then following up through the process with some on-site visits of the construction. Then they will make the final documentation and the as-built plans.
Very good.
Do y'all have any
Thank you, Mr.
questions?
Shook. I will make note, council, this was an item that was fairly debated at the time, and then there was a real press by some on the council to say, hey, the bandwidth of our public works needs assistance. However, at the time, they would only approve a portion. So you're coming back for the next portion.
Yes, sir.
With a new council sitting before you. So at this time, council, do you have any questions for staff?
One question, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Dodson?
Mike, is this 155K in addition to the projected 900 some odd K for the actual construction
Yes, sir, it is.
of the project?
Yes, sir, it is.
So-
On top
All
of.
inclusive.
Or it's more?
It's
Part of.
it's incremental or it's inclusive of that?
It's-
Is the 900K inclusive of this?
No.
The
No, sir, it
900K is in addition to
Yes.
this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the overall project cost is now over 1 point something million?
Yes, sir.
Should this be approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can you detail again, Mike, what we're actually getting for this 155K? You mentioned like a couple of site visits and things like that. Can you be a little bit more granular?
Sure. They still have to do the bidding, the advertising, the bids. It'll be a bid proposal they have to draw. They have to do the awarding of the documents. Technical specification, you'll have specification plans. Also, they do all the advertising, tabulate the bids, they check out the references upon approval. The construction phase is the pre-construction meetings, the material reviews, the submittals for it. They review the pay applications, materials on hand, materials installed. They also respond to any RFIs. And if staff, staff doesn't be doing any of the RFIs with the engineering firm having to do the design. They'll be doing, as I said, about, I believe it was, Jeremy, 10 visits to the site during construction to follow the process of it. They will prepare the closeout documents. They'll prepare the easements for me to go, or other staff members to go to the downstream neighbors, see about obtaining easements.
Gotcha. Thanks, Mike. And just in terms of the time for engagement, what period of time will this 155K cover? What period of time in the entire project process does this 155K cover? Or is it inclusive of the entire project for which these individual items will be performed?
No, sir, it's all inclusive.
Gotcha, okay. And I do see that this is a not to exceed number.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
All right, any other questions, council? Mr. Creed, if you could join him at the lectern real quick. The question I have is going back in history here. So originally when this bridge failed, it was on the CIP. We had not addressed it. We had hoped to claim emergency. We were unable to because it was identified on the CIP. It then stalled out because we had to get it designed, but we have to go to public with bid, right?
Correct.
And at the time, I believe Councilman Dodson's point was the number that we were looking at was 900 and some odd thousand. Do we understand that reference that he made?
I'm gonna bring Jeremy up here. I thought we had an $84,000 scope. Well, originally we had a scope very similar to this one.
Yes.
And then that was brought to you guys at the workshop. That was the old council. I understand that. And it was said, that's too high, you got to come back and just strip it down to design. So I came back to the council, or I understood that to be the message. When I brought it back to the council subsequently, it was only 84,000. I'm just going from memory, tell me why I'm wrong.
Yes. Yeah, pleasure to be here with you tonight, council.
Jeremy White, sorry.
So yes, the original contract that was approved back in April was about $84,000. We're adding to that to get a grand total of our fee of $155,000. It was originally $165,000, but after going through design, we determined that 2 of the 4 easements that we were planning for weren't needed. So that brought us back down another $5,000 to $155,000. Total, we're projecting that the project will come in construction around $850,000. So that kind of gives you about $1,050,000 roughly for the total project cost altogether.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that clarity. Real quick, Councilman. So this is an amendment to the service agreement, but it's not cited as such. Very well.
Well, it's structured as an, excuse me.
It's written, but not on the agenda item. Is it?
Yeah, it's on page 183.
Inside of it. Okay, very good.
Not in
Good
the
catch.
title.
Thank you for, yeah, that's okay. Good clarity.
So the net incremental is about 50,000 from the last look.
Right.
So the net, yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well, it's going from 84,000, which covered a core set of services for engineering, to 155, which includes the incremental, including the administrative component
Right.
Yeah.
that we need to have there.
We're covering the delta to a new not to exceed.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, all right.
which
Gotcha.
council instructed me to bring back.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I was just going back to the old memory bank and it wasn't working well.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask for a point of
Yes,
clarification?
Councilman Horn.
So since I wasn't on council then, you're saying there was $84,000 approved because we needed to get work started?
Well, actually, we're talking about this is the third council meeting we've brought this SBI scope in some form to the council. The original was brought, that was 165, that included everything you see here in the amendment and the original scope.
Okay.
During that meeting, it was essentially tabled. There was no action, and I was told to bring it back with a leaner scope. I brought it back at 84. There was discussion on the council that perhaps Public Works can't do everything that is listed in that scope. Please, we're gonna pass the 84, but please bring back the scope with amendment that puts all those services back in.
Gotcha.
So here we are back, and hey, you saved 10 grand, it looks like. So
Thank you.
good job.
Great, thank you very much.
Good job to those council members, those predecessors. Very good. Any other questions, council, for staff?
No.
Thank you for that clarity, guys. Okay. All right, very well. At this time, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the professional services agreement not to exceed $155,150 to Schaumburg and Polk for design services.
And construction administration and project representation.
For the Review Bridge project.
I just jumped in there.
Parents, Mike Shook. I'm here all week, try the veal. Yes.
Do we have a second?
Thanks, sir.
I will second it.
All right, we have a second. Is everybody clear on the motion there? All right, and we have a second by Councilman Thorogood. All right, the motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Thank you, staff.
Thank y'all.
Thanks,
Thank you
Mike.
for your
Thanks,
hard work
Brian.
on this, guys. I know it's been a lot of fun.
Right.
All right, very good. Moving into agenda item 5.f, discussion and action regarding an ordinance adopting a water resource and emergency management plan. This is a drought contingency plan, other water system regulations for the city of Heath to promote responsible use of water and to provide a staged plan for implementation of water use restrictions during times of drought, water restrictions, or water emergency, as well as the enforcement of the plan. Mr. Creed.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is an item the old council, I keep talking about the old council. So some months ago, we already brought before you. We had some feedback about the enforcement ordinance and what could we do. Actually, the feedback was from council that could we do anything with our enforcement code to make it be a little more amenable to the community. And so what we did is we had some meetings and we worked on it. We come up with an idea to do an administrative penalty phase, and that is the central change in this document. But I knew you guys hadn't seen the water emergency management plan, drought contingency plan, things like that. So I want to give you a little bit of time to go through that, just real quick, and see what we're talking about here, and then we'll talk about the ordinance a little bit. So the city of Rockwall supplies us with water, right? And they take their water from North Texas. Rockwall supplies Heath, RCH, and Blackland currently through our shared take point up there on I-30. And I'll move on. The stages of water conservation measures are stage one. The current policy remains the same. Everyone knows we've got 2-day-a-week watering unless we trigger the stage two, which is the 1 day a week. And right now, with our current allotment we're working under for the city of Rockwall, 90% is 5.4 million gallons per day. So if we do that twice, as Mr. Alexander referenced, in a 7-day period, that would meet the triggers for me to send that over to recommendation to the city manager to assess whether or not we need to move to stage two. Of course, stage three is if we exceed water usage of 5.7 of the daily water supply in two of the 7 days, or any set of conditions that would cause that, it would go to once every other week irrigation. There's some language in there about what the city manager has authority to do and things like that. It is at his discretion to do that. The water conservation schedule for stage one year-round is set by zones. The mayor referenced some of the work we've been doing, looking at those zones, and we even had a meeting that Councilman Mormon set up that was super fun for me. I loved it. There was a guy there that spoke my language, and he had me standing up with him before it was over, and I was like, oh, this is his meeting. Well, I need to sit down. But it was really great, and but this is the schedule we're working from right now on the zones. This is stage 2. If we go to restrictions, it'll be 1 day per week. This is all in your enforcement plan or your water drought contingency plan. This is some of the communications we've done. We've got signs out at most entrances to all the communities around here. I know y'all have seen them. Yeah, subdivisions. You'll see the blue or red signs that talk about the water conservation schedule and the water restrictions. There's a QR code there. You can click on it. It'll take you to our WaterWise page where you can get some of the assets there, Water My Yard app, Smartscape, things like that to help us be good stewardships of our water.
We even have a new social media brand ambassador I saw today.
I know not what you speak of. Operationally, the staff resources we have we have some on the ground. We've talked about that a little bit. We have code enforcement that goes out. We have a program that Mr. Gonzalez has put together where staff does go out and try to do a little bit of water enforcement with us. You can see the charts there we have with our new AMI system on the left. You see that bottom left is a heat map, essentially, what I call a heat map, but actually it's a consumption map. And it's supposed to show us where the big consumption is in town, but the whole map's blue. So it is a difficult thing. The little picture on the right that says VT SCADA is our new SCADA, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in another item. But I put that up there. It is an important tool. It's how we see how the water's using on the front end side, where the production is, where the water's coming in from Rockwall. The TC crew requirement was part of why this document came before the old council a few months ago. Previously, we had an ordinance that adopted 2 separate plans. It was kind of a way to get, I think, try to get through the legal hurdles of not building our own plan. So they adopted North Texas's plan and Rockwall plan and said mesh them, but it was an adoption of both plans. And when the TCQ reached out to me, they said, you need your own plan. So we took North Texas's model plan and we built Heath's plan from that. There are relatively no changes. I mean, because you can't. We have to follow. If North Texas declares a stage because of source water problems, like the lakes are getting low or something like that, subsequently Rockwall must. Subsequently, we must. So you're stuck to their plan no matter what. You can make minor changes, things like we're doing with our enforcement. Obviously, if our capacities change, then our percentages change, things like that. But overall, the stages are relatively representative of everywhere within North Texas's region. Every other town around us is also governed by the 2-day-a-week watering. Whether or not they enforce it is another story, but the rule does exist for those people. Right now, enforcement, and I believe this is still correct, the first offense is you get a notification that, hey, you're watering, or we've noticed, and this is obviously on stage 1 when we haven't met any requirements to trigger any further restrictions. The second offense is you get a notification and a citation. Now, an administrative option will be in this ordinance versus a court appearance. All other stages 2 and 3, there's no warning, and you get a citation on the first offense. Again, administrative option is still part of that, available within this new ordinance. We'll talk about that in a second. So here it is. The added enforcement language is administrative penalties. And what we did, so before, the only tool in their toolbox was you ended up in a municipal court. It was essentially a criminal case. It bore that burden of proof. And it really took it out of staff's hands. If somebody came in here and said, hey, I had mitigating circumstances, lightning struck my house, I don't know, and made my sprinkler system go off, I don't know.
It was a misdemeanor, right?
And it was a Class
And
C.
that's really what
It was a Class
spurred
C.
the conversation of reevaluate.
So we wanted to add the administrative penalty phase. It does lower the burden of proof. However, You don't have to come see a judge. You come up here and you see city staff, and have a discussion. Obviously, if we've got a picture of you watering and you say you weren't, I was, watering my horse or something, and we're gonna know that's not true. But it gives the opportunity of not ending up in court and having a criminal case against you for watering your yard. Although that tool is still in the toolbox. If somebody, thinks, well, I'll just follow this as administrative penalty, I'm gonna water every night, and I have a conversation with staff, it will escalate to court at some point. We can't just keep walking around that. This is a copy of the notice of violation that I was given. I'm assuming we're still using that. I think that's correct. This is the second notice violation, and I think y'all had all this in your packets. And I'll be happy to answer any questions
Very
y'all
well.
have. I know you may have some questions about the numbers. I wanted to get those, and I apologize for not getting those, sir. So first offense on administrative ordinance is $50. That seems really low, but that was the understanding we had to get. It goes up $50 every time. Because of this, my understanding is it can never be over $500. That's per state law. Is that correct? I'm getting there. So it would escalate every time. I don't see the discretion of the code enforcement officer allowing multiple times on administrative penalties, not ending up in municipal court at some point. Also, the ordinance does say if it is prolific, the opportunity is there for the water system to disconnect your water service.
And we will not be looking to that as,
We don't want to do that.
thank you.
We don't want to do that,
I just want for the record. All right,
but it is part of the toolbox.
understood. Any other comments?
No.
Very well.
Any questions?
All right, so at this time, council will open the floor for questions for staff. Councilman Mormon?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to point out this section 4.03 about the water loss control program. And there's just a great sense of responsibility that the city has to supply the water that our citizens need. And I want to make for sure that this is not all just about fines and trying to get everybody to help play a part in as we work towards sustainability. But there's also an internal water loss program that is written out here, and so that is a responsibility that us as a city with our water system to make for sure that we're taking a look at our system and we're trying to be proactive in whether it's updating some areas that are old or outdated, or painting a water tower that's needed. So I want to make sure that the public understands that it's not just the city sending the message to, like, you've got to, we're restricting you, but we're working diligently on our system too. So it's very important that the citizens understand that this water conservation plan is not just about them, but it's also about us internally in how we monitor our water loss and where we're losing it and what we need to do as a city on our part. So where much is given, much is expected. So that's on us too, not just the citizens, and we all have to work together for that. And I love this plan. I appreciate all your hard work on it.
Yeah, I will note that Mr. Creed did quite a bit of work to put this plan together. I know that was thankless and tireless. I saw you in your office working your tail off for a long time to get this done. So I do appreciate that. As you came into this role, it wasn't here when you got here. So thank you for that. Any other questions for staff, council?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Dodson?
Brian, great job on this. I echo everybody's thoughts. This is really comprehensive, and it's more than a super start. It's a great framework for us, right?
Yes, sir.
So a year has elapsed, maybe more, from the time that this was written. Kind of knowing what we know now, are there any major updates that you would make to this?
Not in the stage mechanisms. I mean, the way it's written, if we change our capacities, it's based on percentages, so that will automatically change.
Right.
It's not the actual zone map, it probably needs some work before next year.
Right.
I mentioned, you know, Councilman Mormon had a meeting with me and a professor from SMU, and he had some great insights and provided me with some numbers. And I think if we look at that, we could probably do better. I think we're late in the season to try to change that now.
Yeah.
So that would be over the winter thing, to where we could adjust those zones a little bit to try to ease us on the heavier days.
Right.
Which is sometimes a moving target.
Yeah, it is.
The mayor referenced that, you know, you think you got it figured out, and then Wednesday kills you, and you're like, well, I never even thought of Wednesday.
Right.
I was thinking of Monday.
Right.
You know, but I do think there's some easy puts, as I've heard the mayor say a lot of times, that we could do there to make a real difference in a few 100,000 gallons on
Right.
those numbers.
So, you know, every plan, and this one included, has kind of the carrot and the stick, right?
Mhm.
Really more of the stick. This plan's all stick. Is
well-
there any carrot? Has there been any thoughts about incentives that we can offer for adherence?
Well, the plan doesn't offer a lot of incentives. I do think it references, if there's some things in there about changing your rain gauge in lieu of paying the administrative penalty, to make sure it's functioning that way, you know, especially if you've been cited because your sprinkler's running full bore when it's pouring down rain, which we see that. There could be other incentives that can be written by the council. They're just not built into this plan.
Right. So speaking of the rain gauges, that's another question I had. Section 8.02H calls out that North Texas Municipal Water District mandates that every customer or citizen on their plan have a rain and a freeze system installed.
That would apply to new irrigation systems.
Okay, well, but on 8.02H, it calls out all, so there's some specificity in there that got me thinking with 11,000 residents, a lot which have systems installed, that would be a heavy lift. That would be a long putt.
It would.
Okay, so that's something I think to probably look at there. You know, the other piece I wanted to talk about and ask a question is with regards to sort of code enforcement. And, you know, you call out here in the financial impact that, you know, adding these duties and responsibilities would call for overtime, you know, additional staff. You know, how much code enforcement as we go forward is going to be done by direct observation versus utilizing the data from SCADA to help us assess, maybe with an AI interface, on who are the greatest users and who are either adherent to their times or not adherent to their times?
So that's a great question. So the burden of proof has been, because it was criminal, that we had to see it.
Yeah.
You had to see the water coming out, you had to take a picture of it, it's right in front of that residence, documents the time, the place, and all that, because it's beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
With administrative penalty, it's not that. However, to speak to the point you're making about what can we do with AI is what I'm hearing. And we do have some capabilities with our AMI software. And I've been speaking with Mr. Alexander about this very thing. I have a meeting with a Master Meter on Monday, and we're gonna work to develop where we can draw a geogrid on a portion on a map.
Right.
And say, okay, we know no one's supposed to be watering overnight here. Who in this area we just drew used over 2,000 gallons just in the overnight hours,
Right.
or 1,500 gallons or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I think 1,000.
So this is a
probably.
step to actually isolate.
It
almost
is,
like
and when
GIS
and then automatically
zones.
generate, you know, you pick those, it populates it, and it sends you an email, just a reminder.
Right.
We noticed you had some large water consumption
Right.
overnight last night. It is
Kind
not
of-
your day to water.
So we are learning in real time.
Yes.
Obviously, these AMI systems are newer to us, but what I've heard staff say is that we're learning all of the different capabilities that the system actually has, and
Right.
some of that automated notification systems is in existence.
It is, and we didn't have all the meters installed.
Yeah. We're working with macro data because we're just, Brian, to your point, we're just a few months into every citizen or every residence now having a system.
Right.
Right? So we're working with macro data and trying to understand and interpret what that is, right?
Right.
So for those of us in the private sector that have been at companies that had to put in ERP systems, the most valuable and important person is who in the hell knows how to run those systems?
Yes, sir.
Who's the SAP guy, or who's the Oracle guy, or whatever.
Yes, sir.
So who is your Oracle guy? Is that you? Are you the chief cook and bottle washer on this? Or?
I'm the first one, but I
Right.
intend on educating others to assist me.
We have
Right.
a notification system, for example,
Yeah.
in the system that he uses that we haven't fully stood up.
Right.
At this point, it's there, but
Right.
staff needs to be trained on it to begin using it
Right.
effectively. Ryan's working on getting those folks trained so that when he can pull reports and see those things
Right.
happening, we can go ahead and develop a polygon and just
Yep.
send an email out to that area or to
Right.
particular addresses, letting them know, hey, it appears you're violating,
Yeah.
the twice a week watering rules.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Right. Well, Steve, I like what you and Brian are talking about with regards to doing a pilot in an area and optimizing the pilot for the data that you're getting, and then extrapolating that maybe to a larger coverage area, right?
Yeah.
So working that down first, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'd like to see it done yesterday.
Yeah. So, just a couple other things, Mr. Mayor. With sort of the way in which these citations and everything were handled, it caused a lot of anxiety and consternation with the citizens. They felt as though that there was an accusatory tone when they came in, and it just wasn't the way that we want to treat the people that are our neighbors, that we're trying to all figure out kind of the best path to go forward and be adherent to our ordinances and things like that. Has that process been addressed internal from a municipal court perspective?
Well, I hope this ordinance addresses it.
Right.
When we give the tool to the administrative penalty, I mean, I'll let Mr. Gonzalez speak to, well, he's not here, to the code enforcement.
Right.
Of what their discretionary powers are there and what they want to do. But this does give them the tool.
Right.
To have that discussion with the homeowner.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of times there are good reasons, something's happened, a builder came in, whatever, and they just bought the house, they didn't know how to operate it. And sometimes there aren't good reasons.
Yeah.
But I think citizens do deserve the opportunity to have that said before they're sent to the courts.
Yeah, right.
And we gotta be careful too. We're the legislative body, they're the executive body, and then we have the judicial body. So
Right.
there is a balancing act on what powers that one would have over the judicial
I get it.
body. So.
And we'll be taking a look at that entire process. Part of my job will be taking a look at that process. I haven't been here 3 days, I haven't had a chance to.
Right.
You haven't gotten to that yet?
Come on, man.
All right, I should. Let me write that down.
2 million gallons, right?
We're gonna start to question
You
your
guys could all
commitment.
send the city manager an email.
Yeah.
So, but we'll be looking at that whole
Yeah.
process and seeing how we are communicating to the public and making sure we are using the right touch
Yeah.
with regards to that first communication and then follow-up.
Sure. My last comment, and Suzanne, you and Brian have probably already talked about this, but how do we socialize this? This is one of those rule of 50s things, Steve, that you and I talked about. Man, we're gonna have to drip water on this thing to where it grew for a long time before our citizens just start to understand sort of what we're trying to do as a city so that they can get on the bus, right? So what are your thoughts on how we socialize
I
this?
can speak to some of that. So we've been discussing it with staff, and they've taken a real proactive approach over the last month and a half.
Yeah.
Using our new notification systems. So those of you probably have seen random texts from the city. That's that proactive communication, trying to tell them. In fact, you would have probably seen one today.
Right.
And so we're trying to make sure that people understand the map, right? I know staff has been doing continuous posts on Facebook all the way back. If you look for a series of a week and a half, they were talking about drought-resistant plants
Right.
that are ideal for, water or non-water consumption or the lack thereof. So there's been all kinds of communications, and there's been a lot of filmings going on, and so you're starting to see some of that come out. Mr. Creed's video today, we're going to put him in a movie after this on Netflix. We have our code enforcement, Javier did a video, and so on and so forth. So there has been a much more than last
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
real proactive approach on trying to communicate that.
Well, Brian, overall, this is just terrific. this conservation piece is a critical pillar with supply, with storage, with, code enforcement, et cetera, with conservation. Those are all real critical pillars, and each one of those have to have this degree of depth, and you've done a great job on this.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, even a step further, they've pulled the top 250 users, isolated even the top 50 users. They're
Right.
making phone calls outbound to see if we can get voluntary compliance. I mean, it's a big concerted effort all across the board. And it started, with Ms. Dell and then continued on with Chief Siri and then now under Mr. Alexander's leadership. So, can we do more? Yes. Will we do more? Yes. Right?
Yes, sir.
We've learned a lot about our systems and that our systems can do some heavy lifting for us. So, Councilman Dodson?
Yes, sir, I'm done. Thank you.
Very good. I do have one point, as I look on page 190, and I see the administrative side of this, being a hearing before the city manager, a person may appeal to the Public Works Director's decision to the city manager or designee. Are you opening up a can of worms there?
You know, I think a lot of these processes have appeal processes to them, and I'm sure everybody's very familiar with those. But
Well, my only concern that I just want to be discussed is the fact that the way that it has run is it's okay, you've sent them a citation, now they're in the judicial system and it's hands off. And so, what level of burden are we creating? Now, I like this approach. I think this is great. I think this is a high touch, and our residents deserve that. But I also know that bandwidth is a concern at the staff level. So.
Well, it says designee, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, great.
No, I'm just kidding.
we don't designate
that is.
That's the way that works.
Mike Shook, we got a great opportunity for you.
I assure you, that'll be the last thing I ever volunteer for. I'll just say approve.
My apologies.
Mayor, that's a fair point, bandwidth is a concern. I think this is just a measure we've got to put in place, so we have this extra tool that's not a judicial tool. And if it creates burden, we'll have to revisit it.
Okay.
We'll have to take a look at it once we've got it rolling, everybody's educated on it.
Agreed.
And we start implementing it, so.
Okay.
I think we have one other question.
Very good. Councilman Horn?
Thank you so much for your hard work.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Creed. Can you bring up the slide, the water conservation slide that shows the zones?
Yes.
Because one of the most frequently asked questions I get as a council member is, what is the difference between Tuesday and Friday and Tuesday? And so I want you
Right.
to have the opportunity to address that and a good answer for me to give to the constituents.
So there's none on this one,
Okay,
but when we move to the next stage,
okay.
Right.
Okay.
But to your question, Councilmember, you brought this up to me before.
Yeah.
I've talked to David a little bit about this. We're gonna modify this to make it more clear.
Okay.
That those two are the same, Monday, Thursday, and Thursday and Monday
Correct.
are the same thing.
I can speak to this, just because there's been so many meetings on this. Man, I'm really taking up for you, Mr. Creed.
Thank
You and me, man, we've been at this for a minute.
We have.
So the idea when Mr. Lasher and Mr. Dormeyer and Mr. Creed were all working on this, and just a little bit of history. We were in when I took office, we had the water conservation plan was based upon the last two digits of your address, and there's just almost an impossible way to manage it at the city level, and trying to see how you can curb appetites and get people to water on the right days was almost impossible. This map is an example to quickly identify the first day is your day that your trash comes, or that your trash is picked up. So then that way you can go, okay, Fridays, that's my trash day, easy to remember, and then the second day is the alternate day. So that's the reason that the map is displayed the way that it is, correct?
you got it.
Okay.
You got
I just
it.
want to double check.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
My advice, your next video, be an explanation of that, so that people can understand.
Yeah.
This is why it's put out there. That way it doesn't make us look silly or like we made a mistake, or I just think, making sure that we are very professional and I just think maybe if we can look at a better way to
Under-
restate that.
understood.
Okay.
And we can clarify on this page what that means.
Perfect, thank you.
It's a great observation. I'll also point out that many questions from residents are, well, what in the world are you doing with Wednesdays and Saturdays? You know, you're getting all this, the masses watering on these other days. Well, the idea is, and Mr. Creed, please jump in
No,
wherever I
you're gonna say
misstep,
the right
but I'll
thing.
tell you, so Wednesdays is the opportunity to where if on Monday and Tuesday you have depleted too much of your storage, it allows you time to refill those storage tanks on that day. In theory, I'll tell you, if you look at the use map on Wednesdays, there's red all over that map, so it's not, you do not have a high level of compliance there. The same concept is on Saturdays, and then obviously Sunday is not on the map because Sunday is, we need a full day to refill, that's our day. So I do believe that we all, at some level, we all concur that it needs a revision, and we're talking with really the Chief Information Technology Officer, I believe, at SMU. He's a professor and he's a brilliant man. And so we're seeking outside consultation and by volunteerism because he lives here. So we're working on that. Staff's working diligently, and we'll continue to do that. But at this time, this is what it is. I think all of us too would love to see this change for the summer, just to try something. The concern is that right now you don't even, you ran this last summer, and even this summer you do not have a high level of compliance. So it makes it very difficult to even say that this is working or not working because of that lack of compliance.
If we,
Did that help?
That's absolutely perfect, Mayor.
You're
And
welcome.
if we had compliance, we could do 7 days a week, taking the burden
Yes.
off all the days. And we would, I feel comfortable saying, if that occurred, we would not go anywhere near the 5.4 mark. But we would need citizen buy-in to even test that theory.
So if citizens are listening and you're looking for a day to cheat, Sunday would be it. But I will tell you, hopefully you didn't go to church beforehand. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment that it feels as well out there in Heath that we're really on the heels of this big brother thought, just putting in the smart meter. So if we could just be really, honey instead of vinegar on this, I think it would be very helpful to the community. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will tell you that whenever I knew that we were getting AMI, I wasn't happy about it as a resident.
Okay.
So I concur. I do, and I've seen it in practical application. I know that you and your team are not sitting there at a big motherboard trying to figure out who to fine and who not to fine. But in general, it does feel that way. It did feel that way whenever the initial investment was made. But data is good for our city because it is a resource. I probably would have rather seen the money used for getting a new water resource or additional storage. However, getting the data does allow us for the future growth that we know that's coming. We have over 900 pre-plats, and we know it's coming, and we need to plan appropriately, and that data is helping us make those decisions. So it's helped us a lot, obviously, make the decisions on the water bridge plan, and it's going to help us with the future long plan. So, but I concur with you.
I will add, part of your meter change-out program is what Councilman Moorman was referring to when you're running your water loss program in your city. 25-year-old meters is not helping you with that.
Sure.
They don't speed up. They only slow down. You rarely want to have them change if you're the customer because they're going to measure every gallon. And if they're not measuring every gallon, that is water loss. And so if we're losing water and we can't see where, it's hard to justify, well, how do we end up at 5.4 if we can't even keep up with the percentages that we can't allocate for? And once it goes to a production meter that's on the front end at a pump station, that thing has been calibrated and checked every year because the people we pay the bills to demand that. And then if we're running it through a retail meter that's not measuring the gallons times 4,000 of them, you have no idea where your water's going. and whether or not it's running in a creek somewhere, or is it a water loss at the retail connection? And I believe that our water loss has gone down since we've installed the new AMI system, and hopefully it continues to do so. So that is part of our burden to be good stewards of the water as well as the city.
Great point.
I will concur with that, that looking at the water loss reports from 2023 to 2024, that it did go down. We lost less water, and so one would think that, was that because of the smart meters? But at the end of the day, it is not meant to control or dictate or micromanage people, but it is valuable insight with the data that we receive and what you do with that data. So I'm a fan of the smart meters. There is a benefit from it. We did lose less water. Was that because of the smart meters? Time will tell, but one could assume that that is a great impact that has made on our system, that you lose less water. So looking at the water loss reports, I agree with you.
Very good. Thank you, council.
Can I just say one thing?
Councilman
And that is,
Durgan.
thank you, with regard to what a sore spot it is for the residents of Heath to have to monitor their watering and limit their watering like this. And it continues to be something that's kind of a blight on our city that I hope we can remedy sooner rather than later, but not this summer, obviously. So I want to give a special thanks to our new city manager and his willingness to go out and play a part where he can hopefully create some more neighborly understanding with the residents who find themselves in these, problematic water usage crimes. They're not crimes, but, and not just enforcement. We want, it reflects the personality and who we are as a community on how we deal with these issues. And so I just want to, it's a difficult position you're volunteering for, and you're new in town and people are ready to judge you. And so here we go. It was just admirable of you to take on that role. So thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Creed. At this time, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Mormon. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Thorogood. The motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Moving into 5.g, discussion and action on a contract for the professional services with SuperTech Automation for procurement, installation, configuration, development, and testing of Phase 2 of the City of Heath SCADA upgrades project in an amount not to exceed $84,752, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract. Mr. Creed.
All right. So this is the second time this has become before this council. As you all know, we had a SCADA system that was installed, I think, in 1998 or 97. It looked like is somewhere in there. And the original SCADA did not have the ability to give us alerts or alarms if it was malfunctioning, if there was a critical element that wasn't functioning in the city. We had to have third-party software or call boxes that would reach out to staff, and they had to be opened in a certain order and stay operating in a certain order, or they would fail to reach out to staff. And we actually issued a boil water notice, I'm sure some of you remember, because the tower quit communicating. The phone box line had been cut by construction, and the software had not, the computer had rebooted the night before, and the software opened in the wrong order. So the alarm software, which is third-party software that was watching the old SCADA, couldn't see it, couldn't see the alarm, couldn't see there was an issue. No water was pumped to the city of Heath till we got down to levels that we had to issue a boil water notice because the pressures got so low, because we didn't realize it till staff came in. So we knew it was a critical element. We had to get this SCADA stood up. We had to get it stood up quickly. So the phase one of this was get the software installed. We're not going out to sites. We're not digging through what we got going on, because Heath has 12 lift stations, 2 water towers, and a pump station, an auxiliary site here, and an auxiliary site at the Public Works building that all have to radio and talk to each other. So we got that was game number one, is build the software. What you see here is a combination of the pages I put together for this quick little slide. That's when I open the SCADA, that's the new homepage. It has the city of Heath emblem there, and I can either go to water distribution, which opens the small slide to your left, which is actually a full page when it opens, and you can go further into that, and it demonstrates other activities. And then you have a wastewater page that shows all our lift stations on that we have here, that shows when our pump's running, what our levels are, things like that. But mainly, what we're interested in is this software is far more sophisticated than the old one. It doesn't need any auxiliary third-party software. It reaches directly out to us on a call roster. In fact, you can see that button right there where I can go in there and I can click on that call roster and adjust it at any time. I can even test it to make call outs. It's more adaptable. I couldn't get on, you had to have just a screen viewer to go see the old one on its machine through our network. This one I can see on my phone. It is a much better product. So the first phase of this was actually building this software and standing this up, which it's been stood up for a few weeks now, and so far we're really impressed. It's working great. And we haven't had any significant issues. There were some IP problems on some of our tablets that I think we had to address internally, and we got those solved, and I think we're on our way. Now, the phase 2 is some of these lift stations might give you an alarm that says, hey, I've got an over-temp signal or a communication loss for a second, and then it comes back. It's just like the software was 30 years old and hadn't been touched. The hardware out there and the software, the PLCs out there on the actual stations are also 30 years old. So phase 2 is to go out here and we're going to start triaging these. We already triaged them. We're going to do Southside first. I think Drew Lane was one of them. Cobblestone is another one. It hardly reports at all. And bring these things up and start the process. So this is phase 2, and we're going to come back. Obviously, there's 12 lift stations. This only covers 4 of them. Obviously, Southside has several lift stations that go to it. So it'll be smaller, easier phases beyond this one that I'll bring to you. But that is essentially what we're doing now, is the actual hardware of the sites out in the field. I'll be happy to entertain any questions I can.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Creed. At this time, the chair will open the floor for any questions for staff. Councilman Mormon?
Yes, sir, Mr. Creed. Can you refresh me on the numbers here? We got a 250 not to exceed and the cost of 84,000. Can you explain that?
So originally, the council budgeted in the CIP item on the approved CIP list was $250,000 for SCADA work. Up to this, we spent, I believe it was 90, and I apologize for not having that in front of me. I believe it was 92 for the original stand-up, and then we still have left the 160,000 in that line item for this next phase. So that's where the 250 comes from. That was what you guys budgeted in the CIP for SCADA upgrades.
Okay, and so do we have the sufficient power that is needed to run the software or the panels? You mentioned construction cutting a line. It sounded, once I heard it was a weed eater or something, but do we have the appropriate bury of the power and the appropriate power needed for this?
So all of our critical sites, which is our largest lift station, our pump station, our water tower, our public works building, the facility here, all have generator backups for power. The SCADA system is on radio. The reason we had the call-out box on the tower where the line was cut, that caused that, is because the SCADA didn't have the capabilities to say, hey, I'm broken. And because that system failed at the water tower, had you had this SCADA system, it could have reached out itself. But the old SCADA system didn't have that capability. It just blinked on the screen. Hey, something's wrong. Gotcha. But it couldn't call anyone. So that's the failure that we have. Now, my ultimate build out on this, and the thought process is, I mean, we'll see how far the money goes, is I'd like to develop this in cradle points and have 2 different cradle points on a cellular network, just 2, not every one of them, to where if something happens and the entire network goes down at City Hall, then the Public Works building can still support it. If the Public Works building goes down and all you have is City Hall, then the City Hall building can still support it on the network. If the entire network goes down, then those two cradle points will reach out cellularly and let us know.
So you have redundancies to your
That is the
redundancies.
plan, yes,
Right,
sir.
yeah, right now you have the one redundancy
Correct,
currently running.
correct.
Thank
So
you
this
for
would be
explaining that.
This would be a third.
It would be, yes, it would, I mean, you hate to say bulletproof, because, you never know, I guess, if the cellular network and the internet network,
It'd be a third redundancy for notification.
it would be.
And the original was a landline?
The original was, yes, so you had call boxes that you programmed that would hang at your critical sites. And if the radio couldn't reach out, then it would try so many times and it would send a signal to the call box, and the call box would call a predetermined number or set of numbers and say, there is an alarm at North Tower, communications failure. But the phone line couldn't get out.
Yeah.
It was a landline. It couldn't get to the beeper. So
It was before we had area codes. It was dialing, it was dialing Pennsylvania 65000. So that's kind of what it was going for.
there's some guy that worked here 20 years ago that's really glad we got rid of that, because he's still getting calls.
Couldn't hit your BlackBerry or your beeper. Councilman Dodson.
Brian,
Still Brown, yes, sir.
Still Brian. So we had 250K budgeted, 92K spent, 160K left, 84K for 4 stations. That leaves 80K left for 8 stations.
It does. Southside is by far our largest.
Yeah.
And it has VFDs, and it's a little more complex than the rest of them. So we're gonna look at that. This is a not to exceed. So it's worst case scenario if we have to change everything out in the panel. That is not our intention.
Right.
But it is a worst case scenario. I see where you're going with this. And
I'm just wondering for the 8 left, is there any way to bundle that if we're doing the heaviest lift first, to make sure that what we have remaining is enough to carry us through?
Yes.
I'd hate to have to prospectively spend new budget dollars towards this when we had old budget dollars approved that,
Well, it's CIP budget, so it carries over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unless you're saying going above the 250.
Yeah.
At that point, if it was something of critical need, I'd bring that back to the council.
Gotcha.
And ask for it.
Yeah.
But right now, we don't see that. There is some things at Southside that's gonna be a little bit costly. When we upgraded it the last time, they put larger pumps in, one larger pumps in, didn't even bother to tie it up to the SCADA. That's when the pump runs, we can't even see it. Only way we know it's running is we can see the level going down, but none of the pumps show to be running. So we're like, oh, it's magic, great. But we know that pump 2 is on, and it's pumping it down. So we want to correct that, and there's actually some capability in there. We can even control the lift station by hooking those up. That lift station has a lot more. Now, the other lift stations do not have that capability. So we're just shoring up their communications, their float level controllers. They have old floats in there instead of the new radar eyes. Some of them do. Some of them have the eyes.
Right.
We want to upgrade them all to have the eye rather than an old float that can stick and have issues like that.
Well, the third piece of this is just to be a good steward over our P&L, or the money that we have.
Yes, sir.
At our disposal here. So being able to do this scope scheduling within the resources, or this resource constrained environment we have, would really be to our benefit.
Understood.
If at all possible, that we can really work within those monies that we already approved.
Understood.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Very good. All right. Any other questions for staff on this?
I got one question.
Councilman Myers?
Street, you say that we're gonna do the 4 larger ones first, and there'll be 8 left, the smaller ones.
7. We're not going to do anything within Hugo Bay because we're supposed to decommission it.
Okay.
But yes.
Is there projected cost possibly to bring these other ones up?
So I'll tell you what we did.
Or will there be a need as much as the bigger ones?
We did not go out and go through these panels. They said, what would it take if we had to replace the PLC? We had to put in a new eye. We had to do everything, and they came up with a cost of about $21,000 per lift station. So they wrote the do not exceed based on that. Because really the thought process was, if we're gonna go out there and dig through all these things and pull these floats and see what's checking, well, we don't even want them anyways. We don't want the floats, and we're gonna do all that work. I would like to have them do the corrections while they're there.
Water safety and control is critical. Let's, you know, I know you believe this. Let's just get this right.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Unfortunately, the SCADA is in dire need of upgrades. I mean, we've discussed that at length.
Yeah.
And it does cost money to do that. But I absolutely hear you, and we'll be a good steward of the citizens' dollar.
Yeah.
We will report back to council what we think the final phase is going to cost you.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let you know what that is.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, at this time, thank you, Mr. Creed. The chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Councilman Mormon's made a motion to approve the professional services with SuperTech Automation for the procurement, installation, configuration, development, and testing of Phase 2 of the City of Heath SCADA upgrades project in an amount not to exceed $84,752, and authorize the city manager to execute that contract. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilman Myers.
Before we go to vote, can I
Very well.
make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Brian, do we have an idea of the expected timeline associated with this phase?
They're ready to go now, and I expect they should have this done within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
That's incredible. Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, sir, very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. All right, the motion has moved, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Moving into 5.H, discussion and action on the engineering design contract with Freeman Milliken for the Candlelight Park for water line and fire hydrant upgrade and replacement project in an amount not to exceed $178,656, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract. Mr. Creed?
All right. As y'all know, we have a fire flow CIP that was voted on last year to accelerate into a 5-year project from an 11-year project or a 10-year project. It required bundling of the projects. Candlelight Park is the largest of all the projects. It is a standalone, where it has by far the largest amount of houses. I believe it's 88, compared to the nearest one is 48. I need my glasses. Apologize for not knowing that. Traditionally, Freeman Milligan has done all of these fire pro programs. They own the water. They have the water model that was used during the design of this fire pro program, and it made sense to staff to bring this before you and have them proceed with it.
Very good.
And he is here somewhere.
All right, and the question I have, Mr. Creed, is obviously on that sheet, it's a portion of, so is the 178 the original engineering price that we believed it to be whenever we mapped this out?
I'll let Mr. Dormeyer answer
When they
that
went
one.
with
He
the
originally
priority
wrote
list? Oh, there he is, Mr. Dormer.
the agreement.
Come on up to the lectern, Richard.
I just have what the scope is.
Do you have what's actually in the CIP, the updated CIP?
I don't believe it has engineering.
It's actually less, but yeah.
Yeah, it was, we budgeted $484,000 in the 10-year CIP, but it's just way under.
For the design.
Yeah, for design.
So
Yeah.
484.
Yeah, it's under in the, I don't know if you saw in the back, we had what we think the budget would be recommended for today. It's actually a little bit less than what's in the CIP that council looked at a couple of years ago when it was put together.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at on
Right.
page 275, so
Yeah.
I didn't have any recollection, and it didn't have a call out. Obviously, this was before I became the mayor, but I was in the council meeting whenever they went through it. Okay.
And y'all may remember DAR is under construction now.
Yeah.
It
Correct.
came in quite a bit less. And we had a contractor that really wanted the job, and he's doing a good job. He's not as fast as he said he would be, but he's doing good work. You know, you don't always get that lucky to find somebody that's bidding it, that's got to have the work and giving you a good price. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's
I
kind
recall
of luck
that.
of the draw.
Okay,
So,
very well, thank you, Richard.
Sure.
All right, council, do you have any questions on this item for staff?
This is the second neighborhood behind Dar, as you mentioned, right?
It is south of Dar.
No, just on the priority list, just to,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is
we're
the,
following this.
Yes, we're following the order
Okay.
that was established at the meeting.
so Jay had mentioned that this is sort of within our costing expectations. And I know that the mayor was a huge proponent and driving force behind taking it from an 11-year project and working with you all on figuring out, could this be done less? And you all came back with a great accelerated timeline. That being said, is this 5-year project still on track? Okay, and are we still on budget with what we expected it would be from an overall cost of implementation?
I think we're under budget.
Yeah, we're under budget for Dar Estate.
Right.
And we're under budget on design
And we're
so
under
far for
budget
Candlelight if y'all approve this.
on the front end for Candlelight, yeah.
Gotcha, okay, thank you all, thanks Jay
And just for-
and Richard and Brian.
Yeah, just for clarity, it was on a 10, 11 plus ambiguous plan. So I want to be very clear, it wasn't really technically a 10-year plan, it was, I think, 10 plus somewhere. So, very excited and appreciate you guys and your hard work, and those residents really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So good
Steve,
to
this
see.
is another thing that again, kind of take credit where you can, because, the abuse is plenty.
Yeah.
This is something I
Good
think
job.
that needs to be really talked about and touted with regards to a massive safety issue. And
Yeah.
Ryan, during, when we all ran for office, this was something that you were really across as well with these neighborhoods and
Pretty big
everything.
talking
So,
point.
excellent job.
Do
Thank you all.
appreciate staff working
Thank
hard
y'all.
on this.
We will also make sure the word gets out to the public. We'll work with
Yes.
Suzanne on that and make sure that the public's informed of what's been done.
Yeah, this is terrific.
Yeah, and in fact, I would consider communication strategy for when Dar Estate is complete, and make it a big to-do, because it's a big deal to see that come to completion, so.
Particularly when the fire hydrants could be painted something other than black.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we
Let's all
can have
get
a
out there with that.
fire hydrant decorating contest or something.
All right, very
Sorry.
good. Thank you, staff. Thank you, council. At this time, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the engineering design contract with Freeman Milliken Incorporated for Candlelight Park for water line and fire hydrant upgrade and replacement project in the amount not to exceed $178,656, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract.
Very well, we have a motion as stated. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second by Councilman Horn. Sorry, Councilman Omby. The motion moves. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Moving into
Nimble and quick down there, that Councilman Warren.
5.I. She wanted to get in there, buddy.
Come on
All right,
now.
5.I, discussion and action regarding a change order for $158,283.35 to the Hill and Wilkinson contract to remove portions of the project from Hill and Wilkinson's contract. Mr. Creed.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, this is a good change order. It's actually a reduction. And I put a little bit of background in here. We were working on, as you all know, we got the pickleball courts. And we had a very generous donation from one of our residents here in Heath. And part of what they wanted was a shade structure over portions of the pickleball court. Well, we were able to put shades over all the pickleball courts, except for 2. And instead of just a spotty, which was the original design, just had portions that kind of had a little bit. We were actually building a full-blown canvas shade structure over 6 courts. Hill and Wilkinson was working on that for us, as that was a desire of the Parks Board and I believe the council. And they came back with a price of nearly $400,000. Well, that was problematic. So staff did our own research. I had actually worked with shade structure manufacturer to do the pavilions in Sunnyvale. We reached out to him, kind of got a little preliminary talks with him about, hey, what would it take to do this? We know what you can bring to the table. Is this something you can contract with the city and do for us? And he started coming back with numbers. Yeah, about $190,000, $180,000 would do that. Well, my ears perked up. And so we went a little deeper into it, and we started getting some design. And we decided that Hill and Wilkinson had already bid it out to their sub, so the only thing they can do is remove it. But city staff is gonna take this on. We're gonna have this built as a city project, and so it removes the $158,000 from their contract to do it, and we'll be able to utilize that money, and actually it won't even cost $158 when I bring that back to you. So it's another cost savings, which is important for us for the park.
All right, very well. Council, any questions for staff? I didn't figure, so that leaves me.
Yes,
So my
sir.
question is that what does this do to the schedule? Because obviously there's timing with what they're doing right now.
So we didn't remove any of the pier caps or anything like that. They're all set. He's designing it based on the pier caps that are installed now. So once they're done pouring the pickleball court, we've already coordinated with Hill and Wilkinson. He does have to sign a hold harmless for the CMAR, but they'll let him move right in, erect the shade structure while they continue doing their work.
All right, and then also, Mr. Creed, Mr. Alexander would like to see an update on the park.
Yes, sir.
Council, I would probably just let you know that this is an exciting line item, but plan on giving that $158,000 back on future change orders.
Pretty
Being pragmatic.
pessimistic.
Being pragmatic.
Well, we have a contingency built into this contract.
Agreed, we've got
And I'm working very hard to
contingencies.
stay within it.
Okay, we've got contingencies, but we have
I
had
understand.
a number of items
We
that
have.
have been identified from, I think the electrical line item was $55,000, and we have damaged more electrical than we had originally probably thought. We ran into
Accurate.
a main line that was not where we thought it to be, and we've had to do all kinds of hydro work to identify that.
That's accurate.
So anyways, we don't need to get into it tonight, and I'm very hopeful that Hill and Wilkinson's gonna figure it out. I just wanna be very pragmatic and on the record with our citizens on where we're at. Because there's been a number of items that I've seen through doing some walkthroughs with you and with them.
The park is an embattled project, but I'm gonna keep working as hard as I can to
And I
get it.
appreciate that. Very good. Well,
And
you know,
Mayor-
hey, listen, you keep that 158 and you let Hill and Wilkinson know they got contingencies to work within that. However, I wanted the council to be aware of some
Absolutely.
updates, and we do need to see or have some line of sight on where we're at with the park. Because as of today, the council has been made aware of a grand opening, I believe December 1st. So if that timeline is going to be moving, I think we need to start talking about it now.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
Mayor,
Understood.
we will provide a report.
Very well, thank you. All right, at this time, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the action regarding a change order for $158,283.35 to Hill and Wilkinson contract to remove portions of the project from H&W contract.
Very well, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilman Myers. So the motion moves, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes unanimously. And thank you, Mr. Creed, for
Yes, sir.
all the work that you're doing. This is the Creed Show. Moving into 5.J, discussion regarding the water bridge plan, procurement, project timing, and possible ways to expedite the plan, including financing and project funding.
Back again. Thank you, Mayor. All right, this is probably y'all's favorite one for the day.
Yeah.
It's the City of Heath Bridge Plan update. This has been talked about widely. It started, I guess, over a year ago at this point. And the idea is to essentially raise the capacity for the City of Heath, to try to alleviate some of our water capacity concerns. The conditions on the ground, just a little bit of background. I know I haven't presented this to this council yet. The City of Rockwall does supply the City of Heath with their water through a pump station located just south of I-30 in Rockwall. Their pump station is located directly across the street of Townsend there from ours, right by Shenanigans. We pump water out of their take point tanks into our tanks, and then we have a pump station there that supplies the water on down all the way down here to Heath and goes up into our towers. We're operating from an expired contract from 2021. However, that contract did state 5.5, but we have an agreement with the City of Rockwall to take 6 at this point. Current water demands can exceed these capacities and require water conservation measures to be implemented. City staff has been tasked with seeking alternatives to bridge capacity deficiencies until a more permanent solution is realized. Okay, so this is the overview of the bridge plan. You've all seen this graphic. I think we put it out some months ago. Suzanne's great work. The overview of the bridge plan is 6 wells with a potential increase of 4 to 6 million gallons per day, depending on 400 to 700 gallons per minute each. We're hoping for more 700, obviously. Town Center well number 1 is located in the Town Center Park. Bids were open today. Water lines are currently being installed through the Hill and Wilson change order.
Bids open again.
Again, yeah. And we can talk about that a little bit. The water lines are currently being installed. The one that goes to the pond and one goes up to the tower through the Hill and Wilson change order we brought to you guys last time. The bid package for treatment and controls is under review. The next part is the 1.5 elevated storage tanks on Governors. This was always a design in the water plan. This lot was actually carved out of the development for a water tower. I don't know if you ever drove down Governors. There used to be a sign standing up there. There's a new one now. The old one rotted and fell down, but we put another one up. It says it's a water tower site. We have engaged with the design engineer. Scope is currently working its way through legal. And the Woody Water Tower is actually located at 2490 Governors Boulevard, if y'all like to ever drive by and see where that's going to be. The 3 million gallon storage tank is, design engineer has been chosen. We're waiting on legal review of the first order before we write the second one. It's the same company, so we want to get through all those traps before we start writing this one, but we expect that within the next few weeks. Wells 2 through 6, permanent sites have been identified. Number 2 is to be located at the north elevated storage tank. That is over there by Fulton Academy. Number 3 will be located at the new elevated storage tank on Governors. Number 4 to be located at the Heath Pump Station. That's actually in Rockwall. And number 5 and 6 are tentatively located near Chris Cooney. I'm thinking probably behind the fire station area, somewhere back there out of the way, and make everything kind of flow together and match and not impact the property greatly. Wells aren't very large. A design engineer has been identified. We already have the well designed through Kimley Horn. They've already designed a well at 3,400 feet. They've already done all the technical specifications. These wells will be essentially identical. The depths may be a little bit different depending on where they are on the aquifer, but the design is the same. The casing size, the hole, the tubing, the pump size, the electric requirements, all that will be relatively identical. It made sense for speed for us to do that, and we met with them today concerning that. And they are working on getting that scope out, and they hope to have that to me by the first of next week, and then I'll send it through legal review and get it to you guys. Part E is the contracts for the purchase of water. As y'all know, we meet with Rockwall, working on these water contracts, and that is ongoing. We'll have further discussion tonight in executive session on where we are. Another part of the contract discussion is we have entered into an interlocal agreement to conduct a water study with RCH Water Supply. I spoke with their engineer this week. He is coordinating with our city engineer to get his water models put together and be able to get us essentially a feasibility study about how much water and what it would take to get that to the city of Heath. I got a little graphic there. You can see on the top one, that is our transmission line that originates in Rockwall that comes down to Heath. And then you can see where their pump station is located there on Laughlin. And our water line comes down 2,500 feet to the west of it there. If we chose to tie in there, there's some thought to moving that on down around the corner and bringing it to a horizon where we'd get into some PVC, which may be more feasible than trying to tie it to that reinforced concrete pipe there. So water wells 1 through 4, like I said, are relatively easy. I say easy. Nothing's easy about this process, but they're straightforward. They're holes in the ground next to existing storage. Well number 1, like I said, other than well number 1, is located at Town Center Park. We're way involved with this one. We already have the water lines laid. We've already identified where where the treatment's gonna be. We identified the well site it's gonna be, and that well does have a dual role. It's more than just potable water, it's also an irrigation for our fields and things in our park. Wells number 2 through 4 that we're waiting on the scope, like I said, is North Tower and at Governor's and at the pump station are the straightforward ones that would only require us drilling and setting a treatment hut or building next to our water tower and going straight in there for our blending. Wells number 5 and 6 are a little more complex. We're discussing that with the design engineers now. There is no storage nearby, so that makes blending a little more challenging. We're also being mindful of what district is nearby. Is there going to be restaurants nearby, things like that, so blending is going to be more important than ever. So it may require some additional storage. It would drive the price of these to be a little more than the straightforward holes in the ground next to our storage tanks. So that is what we're looking at on that one. And I'll let Jay come up here and talk about finances if you want, but Jay put this together for me. It's conceptual project timeline. If we award a 3 million gallon tank, and I apologize for the size because I know I can't see it.
Quick question. And when you talk about the well 5 and 6, ultimately we have always talked about, bringing it into a storage, doing some dilution there.
Yes.
In that storage facility. We do know that at one level we'll be bringing in water to the Fulton, and Fulton Tower is $500,000?
It is 1.5.
Okay, that's the 1.5. This is the $500,000.
This is the $500,000.
So even if we did a ground storage of $500,000, could you bring the well water into $500,000 and circulate there?
So we
don't actually have to have a massive storage facility?
So we discussed that today, and what we're going to look at for modeling on here is obviously you have to loop the water through some facility from off of our main and then back to our main, but you also have to have enough distance so that you're just not making a circle. The water you're pumping back in just didn't come around and right back into your system. So there's some modeling that's got to be done for that, but also you have 2 wells that are pumping into this tank, and if they're both making, let's say it's the best case scenario and they're both making over 700 gallons per minute, then that's going to affect that storage tank about how much already of the purchased water that we have in our system we're going to blend with that. Correct. Mm-hmm. So that is part of the modeling that has to be done. We did, my original thought obviously was, well, we don't need a big giant tank here, and I still don't think we need a giant one. But there might be a concern we might need a slightly larger one than just a small.
But we could do a ground storage.
We could, and I even told them, I said, it's got to be aesthetically right, for this area, and we may even do something like a in-ground clear well or something like that, and there'd be a little bit additional cost of that, but it would it'd be a low-profile item, kind of tucked in out of the way you can hide with landscaping.
Partially buried.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, when I see a
the
clear well.
tour.
Correct.
Commerce.
That's correct. Yeah, those were clear wells. They went for much. That was a 1 million clear well that we went to out there at the wells, and the one you saw at the plant was a 500,000.
Right.
Yeah, so it was a little bit smaller. Okay. But they go down into the ground.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, can I ask a quick question? With well 1, you mentioned that in 4 months it's going to be ready for irrigation. Will that be irrigation of the park area? Will that be out to citizens, just the park area?
It's just the park.
Just the park,
okay. It will pump to the pond, and then the pond will pump to the irrigation.
Correct. Correct. There's a pump in the pond that sucks out into the irrigation system.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Y'all have any questions on these? I don't know if y'all saw them in your packet. We have a conceptual timeline based on our 1.5 elevated.
What does the end of that say, since there was no way that I could read that?
I believe it says March of 2027. April, okay.
He sent this in an email, Scott.
I did. I have it here. Let me.
Yeah, I've got the dates. I just, on this one, it was tough. So, okay. Yeah, I've got that, Brian, in your deck.
Okay, good. We don't have this scope back yet, so, but as soon as we do, we'll start the timeline. That was part of the request I had for the design team on this, was this had to be built as quickly as possible.
Right.
This is also contingent on well 3. We can't build well 3 until we have the storage at Governor's, because there's nowhere to pump the water. I mean, you could pump it straight in the neighborhood, but they'd be straight well water. So there's some
Timing?
other elements in timing we gotta work through.
Okay.
So here's where we are on the wells. Well water number 1 is in the bid phase. We opened a bid today. Well number 2 at the North Tower is preliminary planning design phase. We met 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 are all in the same scope. I met with the design engineers today. I had some here, some on Zoom. They're very aware of what we need, and they're working on it. These the conceptual completion dates are governed by other timing issues. Obviously, well number 3 is pushed out because of the tower, and wells 5 and 6 are more complex. If it requires a building of an entire pump station, although it on a smaller scale than our pump station in Rockwall, there's going to be a lot more involved in that. And Jay, would you like to discuss the utility rate study portion and the funding?
I'll come back up here. Thank you, Mr. Creed.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Wilden is the firm that we've used previously in the 2020 utility rate study that was done. I spoke with Jason Gray with Wilden, and he told me that the utility rate study model should be completed by this week, and so we will be meeting with them next week to review the model. Additionally, I guess everyone's well aware of Jim Sabonis with Hilltop Securities. He's working with us on the debt service for this water bridge plan, and we'll continue to work with him as usual to get that underway. And the final proposed plan of finance, once everything's been finalized, he'll be back to present that to you all. Any questions on that?
Jay, I would just say for Hilltop Securities, you know, look, when he was in talking to us before, him not putting really any assumptions in there and flatlining population and just everything else was just lazy.
Okay.
So we really need to see those detailed assumptions as to how these bonds are being calculated.
Okay.
So that we can make a reasonable assessment on this.
Okay. I'll make sure he does that.
Look, I'm sure he just did it quick and dirty to kind of come in and present that up, but it wasn't worth the paper it was printed on.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let him know.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe that's in the slide deck.
Council, are there any questions for Mr. Ayers?
I've got one. We're still looking at a CO?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
good.
Okay. Any other questions?
For Mr. Creed.
No, you're gonna have a whole lot of questions for Mr. Ayers. He just hadn't gotten here yet.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a
Every
whole
dog
lot
has
of
its,
questions
every
when we
dog
start
has
talking
its
about the
day, Jay.
rates and how that
Get some rest, brother.
I know it's gonna be, it's a lot of work, and I appreciate it, and I am glad that we are starting to see this day rounding the corner.
And I want to assure the council, I'll be spending a lot of time with Jay and Hilltop Securities, Jim Sabonis, as well as the rate analyst, looking through all this stuff as well. So it'll be a team effort for sure, and we'll certainly come back and meet council's expectations on the financial plan.
Very good. Thank you, sir. All right, any further questions for Mr. Creed?
I might have a few.
Anybody else?
I did have some, but that was good.
I mean, Councilman Dodson and I have all kinds of questions, so I was just gonna see if anybody else has any questions.
Got a compare list.
I'm gonna take it easy on mine. Councilman Myers?
Go ahead.
You go ahead. You have any?
I don't have any questions at this point per se.
Okay.
But I am glad to see that we are moving this forward.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Councilman,
sir.
Councilman Thurgood?
I got a quick question. So, Kimberly Horn's done the engineering phase, and now you're bidding out the construction phase, is that? what-
We did bid out one well, the well at the park.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Will you use that same construction crew for all the wells? Was that competitive? Is that the best way to proceed?
We would rebid, we would have to bid the additional wells. They will require design, they're all slightly different, with obviously 5 and 6 being very different.
Yeah.
They will all be independently designed, but the technical specifications on all the wells and things like that, I did put a portion in this next scope coming that does a small geotechnical study to see, does the elevation change
Yeah.
as we move up the aquifer, as we move further north, because that will affect the proposed bid price, at least our
Right.
OPCCs, on what we should expect for those unit prices on depths to drill those
Yeah.
wells.
So, Kimberly Horn should give us a pretty good deal because they've already done the work for the one on completing the engineering for the other 5.
I would agree with that sentiment.
Okay, and then you'll do separate bids for the construction.
Yes, it'll be bid out for construction.
All right. that
It's
sounds
a
good.
civil project, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Very good. Councilman Dodson?
Question for legal. Do we have capacity issues for items B, C, and D that were called out there? I know that it seems that a lot of items are with legal for review, and at least what was stated on there is that, we're expecting to get these items back from legal in relatively short order. But I know that that's a relative term, and I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, so the ground storage tank, we're going back and forth with the architect, with Garber. I'm sorry, that's the elevated storage
Yes.
tank. Please correct me.
No, we hadn't brought the ground
My-
storage tank yet.
My tank's mixed up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think I was getting mixed up. It says pending legal review for the ground storage tank.
Yes, we're waiting, so the idea is, once you're happy with the 1.5 document, we're gonna create the ground storage tank document from that document, so that.
You're gonna use it as a predicate.
Yeah, absolutely, that way,
Yeah.
it should breeze through, I hope.
Yeah, so I've been working with Garber and their attorney on getting it revised. I don't like the most recent revisions. They got us further from completion than I think we should be, and we'll have a call on that this week.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, obviously that, the other pieces can't continue, but it has to meet the adherence of what you're looking for to protect us on the legal side, so got you on
Yeah.
that. So Brian, any thoughts, and I get this question a lot, from people in the community. Any thoughts on the linear line placement and the aquifer impact? When you take a look at geographically where we're lined up to drop our wells into the same aquifer. And granted, the Trinity Aquifer is the strongest aquifer west of the Mississippi, and all the great things we hear about it.
Right.
But still, you get the question of if you put a lot of straws in that aquifer in a relatively minimal geographic area, what could be the impact?
Yep, so part of what, when they do the geotechnical surveys
Right.
on this is you see what you think the potential yield of this well is gonna be.
Yeah.
And you develop a cone of influence when those wells are running. And what does that do in that influential radius? Next to, that will be part of our study, part of this
Right.
next scope.
So the cone of influence is like adjacent impact, things like
It
that?
is, right.
Yeah.
If you're sticking a straw in this bucket over here and you're
Right.
pulling down, well,
Yeah.
does that lower the level at
Yeah.
the other end of this bucket?
Right.
That is part of it. Look, there's a risk to this, and there's a risk of success on this.
Yeah.
If Heath comes back and is tremendously successful for this, I speculate that a lot of people are gonna start looking at poking holes in the ground. And in fact, they already are. In Van Alstyne, they just finished one in the Lower Trinity, last 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, we weren't the first ones to think of this, but we're the first one to do it in this area, as far as I know, at this level.
Well, as we go forward, kind of messaging for citizens and what's on people's minds, people, first of all, are ecstatic about this plan, but then the concern comes to, as it does, when you're pulling minerals out of the ground and things like that, of the impact of that vein.
Sure.
And in this case, it's the Trinity Aquifer.
Yeah. If you're over pumping what can be recharged,
Yeah.
you could end up with subsidence issues, things like they have in Houston or the Edwards, where that happens. Obviously, right now, you're talking about the strongest aquifer, and the recharge zone is very powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
And the yields are great. I guess if you're asking, is it possible that everyone drills enough holes in the ground that it causes that, then the answer is sure.
Right.
If everyone starts doing it, I mean, water is an issue for the state of Texas, and it's more especially in North Texas.
It'll just be good from a subject matter expertise standpoint to have a geologic subject matter expert weigh in so that can help us with our messaging.
Agreed.
For our citizens and being able to address that question.
Agreed.
Right?
I agree with that.
From an RFP standpoint, I'd personally like to see the RFP that's gonna go out for these wells.
Okay.
I'd like to see that, and then my follow-on question to that is, how long is this bid process open for these wells to get the bids back from, folks that you've emailed this stuff to and talked to?
So, I'll speak.
Public notice, but yeah.
Yes, so you can bid something as quick as 2 weeks, I mean, after design, but we're not gonna have good bids rushing it that way.
Right.
I think that some lessons learned, even on the Park well, is we need to allow a robust bid process to allow us to have the competition that we need.
To allow the market forces to play so
That's
that.
correct.
So that we're not paying.
Yeah, and when I talk about lessons learned, we got one bid today, and it
Yeah.
came back at 8.6.
Right. Okay, well, we're getting the Heath and municipal price on that one. So for well one, you mentioned that we're charging ahead there. Have we settled on, because I think that bid was 7.5 million, have we settled on that amount for well number one? And have we approved that amount for well number one?
No, sir. So the bid came back today at 8.6.
Oh, okay, oh, all right.
We had
all right,
one
all right.
bidder.
Right,
That's
right.
the bid that's reopened.
Yeah,
That was
gotcha,
the bid.
okay then.
So the original opening was done by Hill and Wilkinson.
Yep.
It far exceeded what could be done on a change order for them.
Right.
So once that was deemed to be impossible for procurement, we had to
Right.
back out and bid it ourselves.
Right, right.
And that's what we did. The low bidder, and I'll discuss that with council. I'll give you an update and discuss it.
For, just for my edification, how many groups on the bid process, right? Do you reach out to specific groups, or you just put it out in the public domain?
So
And you get what you get?
You do put it out in the public domain. We did have feedback from other well drillers.
Right,
That our compressed timeline may have been an issue.
gotcha. Okay, understood. Is there any risk, given the relationship between the elevated tower and at least one of the wells? Is there a risk on that elevated tower from a construction project process?
You mean is in?
Is the risk of putting 1.5 million gallons in the air significant? Is it a significant construction risk for groups that do that type of thing?
I guess I don't know. A risk.
A risk of timeline expansion that would then push out the corresponding well that is tied to that elevated structure.
There's always a risk something could occur.
Yeah.
We do already own the land on the 1.5. We are putting up what we call a landmark tank, which
Yeah.
is the one like you see at Fulton.
Right,
Actually, this
right.
is a landmark style. It's just
Yeah.
smaller and
Yeah.
older. They're extremely common and very popular.
Right.
So that would mitigate a lot of that risk, I think.
Okay. Thank you for that. And
Was your question pointing to that there may be construction risks we're not thinking about that may be keeping bidders from bidding? Is that what you were heading?
Again, how do we mitigate risk given the contingency aspect of the wells that are going to go into that tower? How do we mitigate that
That's
early
part of
on?
our lessons learned.
Yeah.
Is now the tower construction, they're not going to care about the well.
Right.
I mean, that's a treatment aspect we're going to deal with. We're going to pump it up into that tower through its feed line, and we're going to do some modeling and probably a little bit of work out in as the line that comes out of the tower into the system, so we don't end up that weird circulation thing, where, you know, you're pumping 50% well water, and then the tank goes down, you put a little more, now you've got 60% well water, and the tank goes down, but now you got 70% well water because the well's right there.
Right.
So we'll have to work through those challenges, and that'll be something we'll have to do on the quality side.
Right.
But as far as the tank build, and I would say lessons learned on compressing the schedules, we really want to talk with contractors about how that affects how many bidders we get, and what that does to the bid.
Right.
After you know what we've experienced recently.
Councilman Dodson, are you asking that question with the additional curiosity that a ground storage facility would be more practical and time effective?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, how do we mitigate risk? I know we use elevated structures for pressure and,
Yes.
you know, what have you, and if that is the issue, which I suspect it is, that's why I think you might have considered this preferentially to an in-ground.
Yeah, that was exactly one of the questions that I had,
Yeah.
and it came to pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So elevated is low maintenance.
Right.
It doesn't require electricity.
Yeah.
Once you push the water up into it, you have pressure. If you're going to use some kind of ground storage tank with a pressure tank system or just a high service pump, there's a whole lot more moving parts to that.
Right.
And it is more complex.
Right.
And it's more of a burden, certainly even on your staff. Your staff loads for maintenance on that. You know, there's not a lot to do to the tower. It's like, is it still there? Yeah, it looks great. Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Final question or comment, Mayor.
Sure.
Is that on this page, on kind of the water well status, these are clearly swags, right?
They are.
We're just barring more information, legal review, RFP, acquisition, you know, costing, coming back to council, et cetera. When do you think that you'll have substantially more information so that we can be a bit more granular, at least in the early phases of, you know, the early wells and clearly the 1.5 million?
After we award the scopes. That is
Yeah.
part of the lessons learned I've learned.
Yeah, okay.
Is I need to make sure that that's part of the program when we're getting in with these engineers, that they're gonna develop a more reliable schedule I can present to council and we can follow it.
Right.
I think we're all getting better at moving things through our staff with legal. Marie's learning a ton about water, I'm sure.
She's thrilled.
Yeah. Hey, they blocked me.
Yeah, right.
Their system automatically blocked me because I was bothering her. But
No, it was Garber's weird file system.
Right.
That was being blocked.
Yeah.
But there are lessons learned, and I'm continuing to learn them
Yeah.
on this. This has been a very high-paced project, and I'm always ready to learn, and y'all are definitely teaching.
Well, Brian, listen, this is the first time that I've seen the totality of what has been requested, codified in a presentation and laid out sort of like this longitudinally. And Jay, from your work on the financing side and your work on making all of this inclusive is just terrific, right? The devil's in the details in terms of again, the scope of these things, and then how we manage these things, and then what the risks are, as they are with big, you know, every big hairy project. But this is great to have it all laid out like this. It gives me a lot of confidence that, you know, on the proposal receipt and then execution, I mean, we should be able to apply dollars towards that in the recommendations that Jay brings forward to help us execute this.
Well, I heard the council's recommendations loud and clear.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to
Yeah.
facilitate those.
Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
All
Mayor.
right, I don't have any questions. Thank you, Councilman Dodson.
I've got one.
You covered most of mine.
Got one,
Councilman
Mayor.
Oldby?
Yeah, so do we have an idea if the RFP for wells 2 through 6, are they gonna be in a bundle of 2, 3, 4, and
So that's a
5 and
great
6, or-
question. My actual thought on that was, today we were talking and I said, I wonder if we can bring a scope that says 2, 3, 4, because those are easier.
More similar, yeah.
And then a separate scope for 5 and 6.
Yeah.
That way they can kind of separate that project, because it does have some pump capacity issues we got to work through with the pump station and things like that. So that's a great question, and yes, so we did consider that.
I mean, obviously, I would like all of that in one RFP to get the most value for the volume, but I don't know that a well driller cares about storage and
Right.
vice
Exactly.
versa.
Well, we
but there
found
might
out
be an
they don't.
advantage.
We found out
I didn't
that
figure they would.
Part of that treatment package being brought out, and we're actually pushing that out separately, is they have zero interest in
More of a
building our
problem, yeah.
treatment,
Yeah.
our treatment building and messing with the chlorine and things
Right.
like that.
Right.
But that's a much smaller, tiny portion that's
I
pretty
do,
easy.
I do see some potential value of breaking 5 and 6 out separately though, so.
I think that is something the council probably gonna be more involved with, rather than, okay, we're drilling a hole over here with a well, and all you see is a wellhead coming out with a pipeline going in the ground. But this is on property adjacent to EDC property, it's nearby to our brand-new DPS station. There's probably some aesthetics, that we need to work on and discuss through on how y'all guys wanna see that designed and what it looks like. And possibly, landscaping or whatever. It'd be a lot more important to you to have a lot of input on how that looks. A well, you guys, it'll fit in this table right here. It's very low impact visually, but an entire pump station, essentially in your property over here might be more.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like we might not need 2 there at that site as well. We'll know more about what volume we get.
Well,
Yeah.
that'll be a
It
discussion.
would take a
we
lot of
can
other
have.
issues out of the equation
If the
too,
council wishes,
if that's
yeah.
possible.
If that's the council's will. Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Very good. Council, any further questions?
No, sir.
You just mentioned that you can't quantify the timeline issue. You mentioned that it was probably more expensive than you wanted it because of the timeline, but can you quantify?
So we're reaching out right now as part of the vetting process to that. We only opened it, they haven't even gone through vetted the bid package yet. I just saw the numbers that just happened this afternoon. We're gonna have some more feedback that we were gonna put together a letter or an update for you guys to bring forward, because you guys either approve or reject that bid, and you'll get more detailed analysis on why that occurred.
Okay.
The thought was we may even bring the well driller up here and let him answer those questions.
Okay.
All right. Very well. Thank you, Mr. Creed.
Yes, sir.
There are no action items on this, and we're moving forward into agenda item number 6. This is our executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Subchapter D. The City Council will recess into executive session. This is a closed meeting to discuss the following. 6.A, Section 551.071, consultation with the attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter regarding wholesale water purchase contract between the City of Rockwall and the City of Heath. We are now in executive session at 9:20.
That is the number for the